United Refuah is a non-profit organization.
We're here to enable Klal Yisrael to have the best health care at the most affordable prices. A health share is a group of people that come together with shared religious beliefs for the sole purpose in making healthcare affordable for them under the framework of their beliefs.
It's a Jewish person, we're helping someone.
It's amazing to talk to a real person who cares.
We started United Refuah to save people money, but today United Refuah gets involved in their medical needs. We advise the people. We're like a family to them.
The other day I had a claim and then they called up, how am I doing, how's everything? They followed up.
You're dealing with from Jews, they understand you and they understand your needs.
They just care, they're just so kind and considerate. You're being taken care of by another Jewish person.
Being able to pick your provider outside of a network is a huge benefit as well.
We will only accept members who live in the United States, but regardless of where they travel, we will share in their medical expenses worldwide.
If something doesn't work out, like on the provider end, we'll help you out.
Refuah was calling me to get the bill so they could send me the reimbursement.
Some of my doctors are able to bill directly to United Refuah, and that's like completely seamless. And then even the ones that don't, I just tell them I'm a self-pay, I charge it on my credit card, I take the receipt. United Refuah has this easy portal, you just upload it and a reimbursement check comes when they approve the claim.
United Refuah members contribute a fixed monthly amount based on their membership size, single, couple, or family. For well visits, we share from the first dollar. If it's for a sick visit, there is a small pre-share amount that the member will pay every membership year before we begin sharing in their medical expenses. As soon as the member maxes out their annual pre-share and their annual co-share maximum, United Refuah begins to share 100% of all eligible medical expenses up to $1 million per incident.
Doctors love the process of the health share for the simple reason is, number one, when someone calls the office, someone picks up within 8 seconds, and we pay very fast. And for that reason, doctors are willing to give us a substantial break in their billing fees.
And we have a very generous reimbursement maximum of 50% above whatever Medicare would pay the same doctor or hospital for the same care.
Taking your health into your own hands.
You could really realize a huge benefit.
You know, it's just a great deal for what I needed.
It's empowering.
Der Metzies von jene Apikosim, jene Mechablim. Das ist der Loschen. שהמחבלים הראשונים הם היו שומרי תורה ומצוות, רק שאויו להם שיטו, ששאין לו של איסור והיתר, שואלים לכך מהדויר. אבל בשוק החיים של כלל ישראל, was עוד איסור והיתר, מדאף נשרגן דאס תרם. Und dem schreibt der Heilige Chazonish, ihr Shito הישונו של המינים בירידס היהודים באשכנז, אשר הדיחו את עם ישראל עד שנסערבו בגויים האחרונים אצלן, ולא נשארו לפניתו. Das ist gewesen jeder Dor von Maskilim, Reformen, die alle מחבלים. Und ankegen, כנגד כל השיטות הפסולים האלו, ist Gdoile Israel und der Theozerik wird aufgestellt Agudath Israel, als die Jesod von der Agudath ist ein Buch von der Schiede von der Pikosim. Als wir seine Talmidim von Gdoile Israel und kol Inyone Aklal, alle Inyonim, sei in Isur Ve'eter und sei in Inyone Aklal, als Iskoshu, als Nor, Bos, Zogun, Chachme Adoir, und das ist gewesen der Weg, was geben alle Deures, was geraten wird Klal Yisrael. אשריכם הציבור הקודש הזה, שזוכיסתם להמשיך מסורת אגודת ישראל, שגדולי ישראל בדורנו עומדים בראשכם. ובפרט jetzt, כידוע ארץ ישראל, בסכון הגדולו, und leider geht darum in Gas, מחשובס von Koichi Boitzem Yodi ונראית כאילו der schuldig, כאילו als tolui, was der tut und was der tracht. Und das ist einfach die Emune. Mir korre Emune zu wissen, als alles von der Ebestern. Und Ebsi do, es zoroli Yankev, darf man Schubeton. Also wie steht in Rambam, בהלכות תייניס, שבזמן שטובו יעצורו ויזעקו עליהו וידעו הכל שבגלל מעשיהם הרואים הורה להם וזהו נורדוס, אז מת שובתון ומת שריין ומת מחן שינוי מייסה נורדוס ונורדוס שזהו שיגרום לאוסיר הצורם עליהם. אבל זוג דאליק רמב"ם, אם לא יזעקו ולא יוריעו אלא יאמרו הזי דבר זה ממין הגוילום ירמנו וצור הזו בדרך מקרה הזי גייטפלט זי מין אי בחודליו בחס טרחת מן הזי הרי זה דרך אכזוריוס ונחס ושולוים גוירמס להם להידובק במעשיהם הרואים חס ושולוים ותויסיף הצורו צורוס החירוס לא מרנדקים דברי חפץ חיים על התוירו was schreibt auf der Posik ואויו כאשר יורים מוישה יודוי בגובר ישראל וכאשר יוניח יודוי בגובר המולק ושתית in חז"ל וכי יודוב של מוישה אויזוס מלחומו אלא בזמן שישראל מסתכלים כלפי מעלו ומשעבדים es ליבו steht nicht als mir red Politik als sie gar nicht sie macht Ärger verkehrt בזמן שישראל מסתכלים כלפי מעלו ומשעבדים es ליבם לשמיים אפס אנדרש werden אפס אוי נויצחים fragt doch auf es heim was die da stehen כאשר אירים מוישה יודוי בלושן אובר אבל steht כאשר יורים בלושן אוסית sagt doch auf es heim sie am הפוסק מפורש יורים נבואה עד ביאס גויל שבכל דויר בדויר קוף כיסלב תשפ"ד כאשר יורים מוישה יודוי מדוונט ממערכת חיזוקים לגובר ישראל und das ist Mitzvah deoraisa noch ein Rambam das ist Mitzvah deoraisa es soll Jakob zu Tshubeton und mit dem לגובר ישראל und nur das nach חיזוקים mit Tznies וקדושו בתורה zulegen noch Tznies noch קדושו noch Afertashon noch Albeshon lernen und wir können machen nach Chizuk also wie Rav Steinman gesagt lernen die erste Viertelshorte in Isdibur da steht in Ramchal als wir lernen in Isdibur das ist der größte Chizuk das ist die Olmach Shamayim das ist die Oltere das Atebet von Alex Zeres Chizuk in Teire in Tznius in Kedusha was Mashre Shchino bei Israel und Chizuk in Tfile nur das mematel Alex Zeres Reus ich gedenk כמעט 60 Jahre zurück מלחמת 16 ימים בגבוהות ירושלים man gewohnt mamisch nun sehr nun ein paar Minuten von Gvul Yarden und במשך 3 Tage sie gefallen Bombes am Yemin als Moil die ganze Gas geschossen sie gewinnen Pachad Neuro und in jeder Gas gewinnen ein Miklat und der Reulung gewinnt mamisch mit Mois gut gedammt mamisch sie grießen das sie gewinnen Neurobayom und bis Chuz die Tfiles von Iden ist Mor Hashem, dem ich auch geholfen. Nord Tfiles, bis manche Israel mistan klappe Malo und Meshablim es lieber mit Elohim Shamayim Yemot Ido Yeshues. Und der Rav Chaim vielleicht sagen, nicht davnen, schreien. Und nicht schreit, ist durch Sead Shamayim. Ist bis Sead Shamayim, Birshus Doi Israel, sagen Zweckbittlach. שיר למעלו, יססוי נא אלוהים, מאין יבוא יזרי. עזרי מימד אוינו, יויסי שמיים ואורץ. אל ייתן למות רגליך, אל ינום שומרך. אין אדוני שומרך, אדוני צילך על יד ימינך. יום ממש שמש לא יקקו ביורח בלילה. אדוני ישמרך מכל רע, ישמור את נפשך. אדוני ישמור צייס רובייך מעתה ועד עולם. שיר המעלות ממעמקים כוסיך אדוני. אדוני שמע בקולי, תהיינה אוזנך קשובות לכל תחנוני. אם אדוני תשמע אדוני מי יעמוד. כי עמך הסליחה למען תבורך. כי מיסי אדוני כי יפסו נפשי. אי בלי דברו יכולתי. נפשי לאדוני משומרים לבויקר, שומרים לבויקר. יחל ישראל לאדוני, כי מאדוני החסד והרבה עמו יפדוס. והוא יבדס ישראל מכל אבוינו יסום. קבולס אויל מלכות שמיים, שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. אדוני הוא אלוהים, 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 אדוני הוא אלוהים. אדוני מלך, אדוני מולך, אדוני מלך לעולם ועד. אם נשברו השתית, אז תפילה היא דרבנון, ובתפילה באיש סורו, יציס דורייסה. אמרנו, זוג מצווה דורייסה, alle zusammen. אחינו כל בייס ישראל, הניסונים בסור והשוויון, אוי, אם בן היום ומהבושה בכל מקום שם, המוקרים יחם עליהם, יוציאם מצרו לרוחו, ומאפארו לא ירו, ומשיבוד לגולו. וישלח רפואה שלמה לכל הפצועים, וישחרר את כל השבויים, מה שטוב בהקרוב בזמן קריב, ונאמר אמן. השם ישמע שבוסנו, יכבד מחילה, ich verstehe nicht in Englisch, יכבד מחילה. הצלוחה, sein קידוש השם, und alle ברוך השם התורה.
In today's distracting world, it is becoming ever increasingly difficult to stay focused. It has become so easy to get lost in one's own personal struggles and challenges, and at times even easier to get lost in one's successes. But it's also times like these that more obviously identify the individuals that put the needs of the klal at the forefront of their focus. Our convention co-chairman, Reb Ari Stern, is one such person. Reb Ari is known to never ignore the needs of others, both the individual and the community. He is constantly willing and trying to use his platform to further be Mekadesh Shem Shemayim. He is the quintessential Ben Torah Balabas, who is constantly mevatel his own das for the das HaTorah, the das of our Gedolim. With so many asking for his time, he manages to maintain a steadfast commitment to Talmud Torah as he is Kovei Itim, 3 Sidarim daily. It is his unique chashivas and kavod Torah and his immense achrayus for the klal that has him always answering the call. We thank Reb Ari for his commitment to helping Klal Yisrael and Agudath Yisrael, and are honored to have him as our co-chairman this evening. Reb Ari.
Agudath. B'shus Moranon Rabbi Seinu Gedolei HaTorah V'Roshei HaYeshivos HaKadoshos. B'shus Abba and Ima, so sie seien gesund und stark, Uveshus Kol HaKol HaKodesh, that came to hear the Dvar Hashem from the mouths of our Gedolim, Ulis Abek B'afar Ragleihem, Yinoyam Hashem Aleinu. Ashrenu Matov Chelkenu. How fortunate are we that we are zeichet to continuously derive chizuk from our Gedolei Torah, to hear the clear messages, and to show us how to view life through the lens of Torah. This is what Agudath Yisrael is founded upon, and this is what Agudath Yisrael is all about. We need to thank the wonderful staff of Agudath Yisrael, the executive board, and the board of trustees. Uberoisham, I'd like to thank Mr. Shlomi Werdiger for everything he does every single day for Agudath Yisrael. It's an honor to share my chairmanship with a very close friend, Reb Chaim Reichenbach. He's a true Oisik B'tzarech Yitzibur. And may HaKadosh Baruch Hu shower him with all the brachas. In the summer of 1912, in a small resort town named Katowice, Agudath Yisrael was founded, and after much deliberation, its stated mission purpose was defined by the Gedolei Yisrael. Liftar Beruach HaTorah v'amitzvah es kol hashelos sheta'alena yom yom al perek b'chai am Yisrael. The purpose of Agudath Yisrael, the mission statement, was to resolve and answer any questions Klal Yisrael may have in their daily lives, Beruach HaTorah v'amitzvah. It is important to remember that the solutions to all our problems are in the Torah. We must never forget that the answers to every dilemma is in the Torah. Torah is a cure-all. I've learned this from my own experiences. Over 25 years ago, When I went straight into the business world, straight from Kollel, I was shell-shocked. I remember my first meeting where a woman walked into the room and stretched out her hand to shake my hand. I did not know what to do. My partner said, "Ari, say it proudly. I'm sorry. My religion does not allow me to shake hands with women." It was mid-December. It was my first day on the job. It was a holiday party. I was strongly encouraged to attend with my wife. On the way home, my wife cried the entire way home. Is this going to become a part of our lives? At that moment, we realized how important it is to stay connected to Torah. My wife and I both had our work cut out for us. We both realized that we had tremendous responsibility to maintain a Torah home. How does one maintain a Torah home? Bilam said, "Ma toivu elecha Yaakov." The Gemara in Sanhedrin tells us that this is referring to Bate Knesiyos and Bate Midrashos. Rashi in Chumash tells us it's referring to every Jewish home. Obviously, there's a significant connection between a Beis Medrash and a Yiddish shtub, a Jewish home. What is that connection? There was an Erlich Yid that came home, Matzah Yom Kippur on a high. He was glowing. His davening was great. It was geschmack. He had kavanah throughout the entire day, through all his tefillos. He wasn't even hungry. He glowingly turned to his wife and said, "Baruch Hashem, I had a Gevaldige Yom Kippur, a very dehoibene Yom Kippur. How was yours?" She replied to him in a gloomy tone and said, "The kids were impossible, fighting, kvetching. I couldn't put the baby down. I was not able to daven for more than 2 minutes straight, and I'm starving." The husband calmly turned to his wife and said, "While I was in shul screaming the Yud Gimel Midah Shel Rachamim, you were at home practicing the Yud Gimel Midah Shel Rachamim. You were the one being a Rachum. You were a Chanun. You were Erech Apayim. You were the one doing the Yud Gimel Midah Shel Rachamim, and you are the one that converts our home into a Mikdash Ma'at. It is the men who go to Beis Medrash to learn, to daven, and it's the ladies who turn our homes into Bate Midrashim. They must stand guard so that their families do not become the prey of the outside world. This is how you build a Yiddish shtub." In talking to my Rabbeim, it was not sufficient to be a Yid only outside in the business world. I needed to infuse Torah into my business. So every day in my office, we have a shir in the morning and a Daf Yomi shir at the end of the workday. Recently, Daf Yomi made a siyum on Seder Nashim. And one of my employees sent me a beautiful email. I'll quote, "It's really admirable how you created a Makom Torah amidst everyone's workday. We can all sense how it affects everyone in the office in a positive way." One would think that this email came from one of the attendees of the shiurim. It did not. It came from one of the women in the office. The Torah has the answers for all the questions. Even things which may seem secular to us, there's a Torah perspective. How to interact with Umas Olam, how to align oneself politically, how to live our lives with things that are not clearly stated in Shulchan Aruch. Everything requires Das Torah. I have seen clearly on a personal level the need for guidance from Das Torah in all areas of my life. Likewise, on a communal level, it is critical to follow Das Torah in every step. Rav Koldetsky mentioned this in his drasha. Exactly 71 years ago today, Yud Tes Kislev, the Chazayin Ish wrote an extremely powerful letter. So much so that the Brisker Rav requested a copy of the letter, which he shared with the great Rashi Rav Aaron Kotler Zecher Tzaddik Livracha. I'll read the letter and I'll translate it to you. Hashita la'asis Torah l'chalakim shonim. Hayra b'isa v'heter chelik echad, v'hayra b'shuk hachayim chelik sheni. Li'is nichnoim l'hayra es chachmei ador b'chelik rishon, l'hashi l'chofish b'chiras b'chelik hasheni. Hi hashita yeshana shel aminim b'ridas hayados. Loosely translated, there is a philosophy that the Torah can be divided into two parts. One is Isser and Heter. The other is how we live our day-to-day lives. For Isser and Heter, we need to be subservient to Gedolei Adar. However, when it comes to leading our lives, we are free to choose to do whatever we want. The Chazayin Ish writes, that philosophy is treif, and Rachmana Litzlan, it cause many people to intermarry. Klal Yisrael needs to adhere to our Gedolim in all areas of life. This is the purpose of Agudath Yisrael Convention, to listen to the guidance of the Gedolim and to gain clarity and perspective, a Torah perspective, on all issues regarding the Klal. Klal Yisrael is going through difficult times, both in Eretz Yisrael and locally. We don't know what our course of action should be in these uncertain times. Reb David Soloveitchik, Zeichet Tzadik V'Racha, used to say over the following story. At the onset of World War II, shortly after the Russian army captured Lithuania, his father, the Brisker Rav, Reb Yitzchak Zev Soloveitchik, escaped to Vilna. Soon after he settled in, the Russian army demanded that the Brisker Rav and his family evacuate their home within 48 hours. They planned on using the home for generals. In place of that apartment, they were given a dilapidated hut without any windows around 5 kilometers away. Hearing the news, Reb David grew fearful. The Brisker Rav noticed his son's fear and calmed him down by showing a Rashi in this week's parsha. Vayomer, Lo Yaakov yemer oid shimcha ki Yisrael ki sarisim elakim v'manoshim batuchal. And Rashi says on the word v'anoshim, it refers to Lavan and Esav. It's plural. The Brisker Rav asked him, how can it include Esav? He didn't meet Esav yet. He only made Esav later on. And the Brisker Rav says, when Rashi quotes, Vayavik ish imo zavsar shel Esav. So the Brisker Rav told Reb David that the actual milchamas take place in Shemayim. The outcomes are showcased here in this world. Since Yaakov was victorious over the Sar shel Esav, this was a clear and unequivocal sign that he would be victorious over Esav himself. And the Brisker Rav told Reb David, we must perform all our obligations of Ein Shemayim, and once we do, we have nothing to worry about in this world. This is our obligation as well, to do what is right Ein Shemayim, where the real battle is taking place. When we do this, we have nothing to worry about in this world. By coming to the convention and listening to the guidance of our Gedolim, we know how to fight the battle in Shemayim. While at all times, we need to look up to our Gedolei Yisrael, how much more so nowadays, considering the current matzav of Achenu B'nai Yisrael in Eretz Yisrael and across the globe. Klal Yisrael can be described, as David HaMelech says, Ta'isi Keseh Oved, lost sheep from its flock. Many of the greatest manhigim in the history of Klal Yisrael were shepherds, among them Yaakov Avinu, Moshe Rabbeinu, and David HaMelech. They rose from being shepherds of sheep to shepherds of Klal Yisrael. Just like the sheep are protected when under the care of the faithful shepherd, so too Klal Yisrael is shomer when they heed the Gedolei Yisrael in their generation. So let us hear the call to action, and do not be yotza with Shemei Ka'ina. Follow the directives of our Gedolim, and may we be zeicha to derive the maximum benefit of this Asif L'Shem Shemayim, and may we be zeicha to the greatest chus of all, She'ez Kadesh Shem Shemayim Al Yadei Yasher Koyach. Rabbi Yosef Elephant, beloved Ram Yeshiva Samir, he's a beacon of light for thousands of Talmidim, as well as Bachrim from all over Eretz Yisrael, who flocked him for guidance and hadracha. His Talmidim, some of who are married for more than 25 years, treasure their relationship with their Rebbe. He takes achrayus for them, as well as for the thousands of others who seek his guidance and clarity in their Ashkafas HaChaim. It is a true privilege to call upon Rav Elephant to share Divrei Chizuk.
Bereshus Moranon Rabbanon Chavrei Metzes Gdolei HaTorah Bereshus all the Chashuv Rabbanim Heilige Yidden. I was asked to bring a grus from Eretz Yisrael, a report from Eretz Yisrael, and perhaps to suggest what the incredible tzibur here in America can help us back home in Eretz HaKodesh. After being here for 2 days, It's awe-inspiring to see the Hishtatvus of the Torah de Tzibur in the Tsar of Yisrael, the outpouring of support, Tefillah, Nisias Ba'ol, Stoka. It's something that the Tzibur in Eretz Yisrael is aware of. It gives tremendous chizuk. It's reported on all the Tefillah gatherings. A special chizuk has been the return of your children, the yeshiva light, the B'nai Torah, the younger light by the thousands, the B'nai Yisrael, who have come back to Eretz Yisrael. They're the only ones in the airports, the only ones who have returned. All the taxi drivers in Yerushalayim talk about it, how the only ones who came are the B'nai Torah, and the parents who sent them back with the knowledge that that's life itself, that's Chaim Atzmam. Should all be gebenched for that. The time is a time of incredible challenge. There's also a tremendous opportunity. There's a monumental event going on under the camouflage of the Milchama of the war. There's an event of historic proportions that you need to hear about. This event is going on in the general population by the secular Jews, by the traditional Yidden, what's called Misorati. What's happening over there is that beyond the sakana and the pain of those who are killed and wounded, the hundreds of thousands while living in hotels, the millions who don't sleep at night because they have family members in the heat of the battle, that's what's going on the outside, on the chitzenius. Behind the scenes, under the cover, there's an earthquake going on. The collapse of all the ideals and beliefs and systems, which not only gave that Tzibur a sense of security, but also gave them a sense of identity. As a klal and as a prat, they have almost nothing to hold on to. That's the challenge. Huge challenge to a huge tzibur of Klal Yisrael, of Achenu B'nai Yisrael. They've lost their security, they've lost their sense of safety, but even more so, they've lost their identity. What identifies them as a tzibur? What's their schus kiyum? So that's the challenge. That's also the opportunity. Due to this earthquake, in an unprecedented way, the hearts are open. They're searching for something stable, there's something meaningful, something to hold on to. I spoke to a close friend of mine last week. He's a regional director, happens to be for Lev La'achim. He tells me that he was in the Yam HaMelach in the hotels last week. Almost the whole town of Sderot is there. Sderot is a town, you're all aware of it, it's a town mostly of traditional Jews. He went into a hotel with hundreds and hundreds of families. This is a very close friend of mine. He's a neighbor of mine. And the parents all gathered around him crying, send us younger lights for the kids. The kids were all registered for Torani schools. They have no schools. They're bringing singers for them and entertainers. Parents cried, bring us younger light. Teach us Torah, teach the kids Torah. This younger man told me that there are 15 yeshuvim on the fence, what's called in Hebrew, al gader. For 15 years, they never let him step foot into the base. They're calling him nonstop, bring us younger light, open a shul, let's learn. There's a kibbutz called Be'eri. It's the most left-wing kibbutz in the country. There are people calling for them, bring us Torah, he said. The first time they ever even spoke to him. The numbers of people turning up in the Bate Midrash to learn is double. I have a brother who's a Rav Roshi of a town in the south, in Dimona. He tells me all the kachkolach in the town are wearing tzitzis, some with yarmulkes, some without. The hearts are open now. There's a window now. There's a window for Torah. If we could bring now tens of thousands of younger light to teach Torah, Bob Metzia, Shnai Moichsin, Bob Basra, Sanhedrin, we, the tzibur sitting here, could turn Eretz Yisrael upside down. There's a window which is not going to stay open for long. There has not been an opportunity like this since the Yom Kippur War. There's an opportunity over here to make a mapech in the country now, in the coming weeks, when the hearts are open, before people sink back. By the way, when the war is going to end, the Mirz Hashem, they're going to sink back. There's going to be a huge shever. There's going to be the aftershock. Before they sink back into Yirsh, before they go back into that bunker of detachment from Yiddishkeit, from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If there's a call for action now in Klal Yisrael, under the leadership of Rabbi Seinu, somebody in this room or somebody is listening has to take the leadership and the vision. There's an opportunity now. This was my hargosha the last few weeks. I spoke last week to all the Kiruv professionals from all the organizations. They say they have a window of a few weeks now to bring huge tzibur back. The hearts are open, they're putting on tefillin, they're wearing tzitzis, they're davening, and be'ikr to bring them Torah. Gemara, Rashi, Tosfos, like Rabbi Seinu taught us, that's the way. It's a question of bringing thousands of Avrechim. The Avrechim are there. It's a logistical issue. It's a financial issue. It needs leadership. It needs vision. L'chayra, that's the call to action. And it's now or never. And there's a chance now. The Gemara says in Ksubis, Hamalim Einov min hatstoka ki'ilu oived avodah zarah. A person who closes his eyes from giving tzedakah, he's like oived avodah zarah. It's a very harsh equation. A person doesn't give tzedakah, he lacks philanthropy, he lacks a leiv toiv. Why avodah zarah? The Maral explains in Beragoyla, in the Sivat Tzedakah, it speaks for itself. The Gemara learns out that there are two psukim. One pasuk says, Korvash nasa shmita, v'roe einecha ba'achicha ha'evyain. The Gemara says that somebody who ignores an evyain, achicha evyain, is b'nei Belial. Somebody who serves avodah zarah is b'nei Belial. Says the Maral, why? Zok the Maral, v'roa einecha b'achicha evyain, me'acha shehu achicha, since he's your brother, eich efshar shaloi terachim alav. How could it be you want to have mercy on him? He's your brother. How could it be possible? Sha'odam merachim asher hu achiv, v'imailim einov, and if you conceal your eyes from him, Kilu eino yacher, it must be he's not your brother. Harehu pirish me Yisrael she'am echad. So you're detaching yourself from Klal Yisrael. That's am echad. You ignored your brother. How could you ignore your brother? Elamai is not your brother. That's the unraveling of Klal Yisrael. Ubishvil she'Yisrael heim am echad yeshlem kel echad. Klal Yisrael's achdus is a reflection of the achdus of the Boirei. Says the Maral, Ata echad, v'shimcha echad, u'mi ka'amcha Yisrael goy echad ba'aretz. U'mi ka'amcha Yisrael goy ba'aretz is the articulation and the expression of Ata echad. Our ability to be achicha is only because we're mechuber to the Eibishter. So if he's not achicha, that's the unraveling of the mi ka'amcha goy echad ba'aretz. So then there's no Ata echad. Einoi mirachem al Yisrael. So then there's no am echad, there's no kel echad. That's ki'ilu davik b'avodah zarah. That's the unraveling of achdusah yisbarach. Kol hamalim einov min hatstoka. If it's not achicha ha'evyain, there's a lot of achicha ha'evyain going on in Eretz Yisrael. The needs are incredible, and the tzibur has stepped up to the plate. But there's also achicha b'das. There's a need now to bring Ruchanias, to bring the Eibishter back to Eretz Yisrael. The tzibur there was robbed of it. But now they want it, and now they're asking for it. It's achicha. It reminds me of what the Alter Kloisenberger Rebbe said. The word itself was printed in the Shefa Chaim, but he told somebody, he was in Bergen-Belsen, he was on the shelf over there in the concentration camp. One day, 2 shelves above him, there was a 4th generation assimilated Jew from Vienna who bent down to ask him. He said, this is how he described it. The person told me he heard it from him. He said to him, Ober Rabbiner, great rabbi, was ist das a Yid? What's a Jew? He asked for the first time in his life, this 4th generation. Said the Rebbe that at that second in Bergen-Belsen, I knew pshat in the Gemara in Brachos. The Gemara in Brachos says that Avram Avinu will have a taina, va'avodum v'inu oisam kiyam behem. Va'achri ken yetzu b'ruchush godol kiyam behem. The avdus klais or gat, they're not going to get the ruchush godol. What's pshat in the Gemara, he says? He says, then he understood pshat. Klais went out of Mitzrayim, the Malachim says, halol oivda avodah zarah. How can you take them out? How can you give them a ruchush godol? Said the Kleisenberger Rebbe, Lasid Lavoy, by the Suda Shel of Yason, this 4th generation assimilated Jew from Vienna is going to come with a plate asking for a portion from the Suda Shel of Yason. The Malachim will say, 4th generation assimilated Jews from Vienna don't get from Suda Shel of Yason. Said the Rebbe that this Yid will say, if I was a Jew for Auschwitz, if it's Kiyam Bohem Abba Me'oshana, then I'm a Jew for the Suda Shel of Yason. Abba Me'oshana Kiyam Bohem. If I was enough a Yid for Auschwitz, for Bergen-Belsen, then I'm enough a Yid for the Suda Shel of Yason. That's a chicha. If there are brothers enough to get shechted, then there are brothers enough that we have to give them back their Yiddishkeit now. We have to give them the Suda Shel of Yason. We have to be Mekayim the Ruchush Godel. The Ruchush Godel is Matan Torah, as we know. We're in the week of Hanukkah. The Heligas Fasemes is Medayik, the Lashon of the Torah. Mezuzah b'yamin, Menorah b'smol, effect is Fasemes. If the mezuzah is b'smol, what's the difference if the menorah is b'smol? What's the difference if the mezuzah is b'yamin? So the Heligas Fasemes. In the Marzeh of Daniel, Yovan is a nomer, a leopard. The midah of the nomer is az kanomer, azus. Upartzu chaymais migdolai. The Yevonim had azus. They went into the place they shouldn't. They went into the Mokum HaMikdash. The mezuzah defines our relationship with the street. The street's on the outside, the bayis, the kedusha is on the inside. This Kolzman, everybody keeps their place. It's okay. The mezuzah says you come in from the street, you have a shmirah going into the house. But if the other side is Peiritz Migdalai, if the other side has Azus, if the other side goes to the place where they're not supposed to go, if they penetrate to territory that's ours, so then we also have an Azus the Kedusha. On Hanukkah, we have the ability to export the Kedusha from the bayis. So what the mezuzah does on the right side, that it defines the relationship between the street and the house, the menorah does on the left when you're going out. And we have the ability to do Azus the Kedusha. They came in, they brought in Misa, Mishuna, Chorban, Tsar, and now we have the ability to be Partzu Chaymes the other way with an Azus of Kedusha, bringing out Kedusha. Now's the time. Somebody, everybody should step up and answer this call. There's an opportunity to bring Kedusha to the place where there was no Kedusha before.
The Gemara, Mesechtes Kedushin, Daf Lamed Gimel, has a question. A son that is his father's Rebbe, who should stand up for whom? Should the son stand up for his father because it's kibbut of aim, or should the father stand up for his son because it's his Rebbe? The Gemara relates a story. Shmuel tells Rav Yehuda, stand up for your father, which implies that even when the son is the father's Rebbe, he must stand up for his father for kibbut of aim. The Gemara says, you can't prove it from there. The reason he told him to stand up for his father is called Shani Rebbe Cheskel, the Baal Maisim Heim. His father was a Baal Chesed. And you have to stand up for a Baal Chesed. When describing Rebbe Nasha, he's not just another Baal Chesed. He has bailus on Chesed. He takes ownership of issues of Klal Yisrael. Please allow me to introduce my Yedid, my Rebbe Naskanas, Rebbe Nasha Frankel.
Thank you, Rabari. I cherish our friendship. B'Rishus Gedolei Yisrael v'Kol HaKol HaKadosh Hazeh. Many years ago in Europe, when Agudath Yisrael was established, by one of the meetings, the Heilige Chavetz Chaim asked Reb Chaim Briske to attend the meeting. And Reb Chaim came to the meeting, and the Heilige Chavetz Chaim asked Reb Chaim Briske to say a few words. Reb Chaim didn't want to speak. He said, "Als covered for the altar, for the Heilige Chavetz Chaim, he will say a few words." And Reb Chaim got up and said one mashal. Mashal l'mahad avadoyma. Ruvain has a supermarket in Varsha, and Ruvain has a friend by the name of Shimon that has a son, Le'aleinu v'le'aleichem. He was born, he wasn't able to speak. And Shimon sent his son to the best hospitals and the best doctors, and they were able to teach him one word, dry, 3. And Ruvain, in order to help his friend Shimon, he gave his son a job. And his son's job in the supermarket was, someone would walk in and ask him, how much is this product? And his son would say, dry, 3. But in order to facilitate this job, Ruvain had to package everything in the supermarket to the value of 3. A lot of potatoes, a lot less of grapes. Grapes are more expensive. Everything was packaged to the value of 3. It's this Alzer reingepackt in a package of 3 that this bacher should be able to have a job. Zok Reb Chaim Briske the Nimshal, and that was his mandate, Agudath Yisrael. The Rebbeinu Shalom Kaviyachal has one word, and the word of the Rebbeinu Shalom is Torah. And the mandate of Agudath Yisrael is to reinpacken, to be able to be packaged in the Rebbeinu Shalom's only single word of Torah. 10 years ago, there was a crisis in Eretz Yisrael. The Koilim, there was a crisis. The Koilim weren't able to continue. There was a financial crisis. An organization by the name of Adaptive Koilim was established. An organization that was nurtured and encouraged by every single one of the conventions. Rabbi Avraham Chaim Levine, Zecher Tzadik V'Kadosh Livracha, that his Yortzeit is tonight. The Rav Minsker Rebbe Zatzal put in so much kaiches to encourage this organization. And Baruch Hashem, today we're able to announce that on a yearly basis, $20 million is sent to close to 500 koilim in Artzeinu Hagdosha. Rabbi Yeruchim in last week's Parsha, and also in Parshas Vayakol Pekudei, Rabbi Yeruchim talks about unternehmen, responsibility. And Rabbi Yeruchim writes that Yaakov Avinu was Yohev Daitoi. He realized he missed the Mokim, the Heilige Mokim, and he went back. And Rabbi Yeruchim writes, stellt sich vor, if Yaakov Avinu wouldn't have gone back, the whole Parshas Vayetzei, all the Havtochas, Malachi Elikim, Oilim V'Yordim, Mokim Kodesh, nothing would have happened. But Yaakov Avinu was focused. Yaakov Avinu was determined. And that's why Yohev Daita, he went back. And that's why we have what we have from Parshas Vayetzei. There was one individual that when he saw the crisis that was going on in Eretz Yisrael, he was Yohev Daita, and the Rebbeinu Shalom gave him the Kvitzas HaDerech, and that's Yedidi HaYakar Rabbi Rosenbaum. Rabbi Yeruchim writes, the Welt says it over from Rabbi Yeruchim, that the Taina Be'ikvis of the Mashiach is not going to be on things that we didn't accomplish. The Taina of Be'ikvis of the Mashiach will be on things that we thought were too hard for us to accomplish. Itche, you proved, and you have been a mentor, and Mimenu Yimel V'gam Yasu, that if one is determined, if one is Yoav Daitoi, the Rebbeinu Shalom stellt zu, whatever has to happen, the Rebbeinu Shalom gives to us. Today, once again, there's a perfect storm. The Meisters Hagdoshim, we know what the Yechidim are going through. We know what the needs of Yidden at Yisrael, and the Frumme Yidden always know that they do what they have to do. But the Meisters again are suffering. The Meisters HaTorah, the Kailim are suffering. This is a perfect storm. A, with the crisis, what's going on in Eretz Yisrael, and B, with the financial crisis that's going on here in America. We have to know that Tverer Shlomo writes in the Likutim, B'chol levavecha, v'chol nafshecha, v'chol mi'odecha. Sagt the Tverer Shlomo, Yid is going to have to give a din v'cheshbon why he didn't go al Kiddush Hashem. He didn't go al Kiddush Hashem. There was no wars in his neighborhood. What should he do? Sagt the Tverer Shlomo, v'chol mi'odecha. Did you give tzedakah when it was hard to give tzedakah? If you gave tzedakah when it was hard to give tzedakah, then you proved, then we know that you would go al Kiddush Hashem. B'chol levavecha, v'chol nafshecha, v'chol mi'odecha. Now is the time. And now we're looking for a new Yohev Daitai. And I'm sure Itch's mind is racing as we speak, to be able to make sure that we continue to support the Kailim in the Yeshiva Gedolis. We have to remember, Amidav Zecharaim Paken and the Rebbeinu Shalom's word for Torah. That's the mandate for the Charedish Olam. That's the mandate that the Rebbeinu Shalom wants from us. The Heilige Sanzer Rebbe Zecher Tzadik V'Kodesh Levracha once said that the Bayis HaShlishi is ready. The only thing that's missing from the Bayis HaShlishi is the Paroichis. The obvious question is, why the Paroichis? And the Schenkeit von Yiddishkeit is that we can answer a memra from the Sanzer Rebbe with one line in a maimer from Hagoyin Agudath Rabbi Yonason David soll sein gesund und stark. Rabbi Yonason David writes that the world makes a mistake. A Paroichis is not a chaitzitz. A Paroichis is not a mechitza. And he brings kama v'kama rayis ve'en kan amokim laharach kan. But he writes that the heichel represents the avodah of Klal Yisrael. So much Torah, so much chesed, so much avodah. But we're not yet attached to the Kodesh HaKadoshim. We don't have that paroichis to attach it. We're still missing that. Yikarehim ipninim. If Klal Yisrael shows our cheshivas for Torah, our cheshivas for limrat Torah, our cheshivas for hachzokas Torah, then that's even more than Kodesh HaKadoshim, that's even more than Kohen Gadol nichnas lifnai lifnim. The best way to be able to connect Klal Yisrael's avodah with Kaviyachol Kodesh HaKadoshim is through Achzokas HaTorah. Rabbiche, you and your whole staff of Adapter Koidel have spent the last 10 years sewing thread after thread of this paroiches, panel after panel. And you're going to continue, Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach, to even grow it in today's time of need. And I don't mean to dilute your partnership, Rabbiche. But in order to accomplish what you accomplished, you have to have an equal partner of your wife and your children and your whole family. Amoid Chasan HaTorah. We ask Rabbiche to come up. We ask the leadership of Agudath Yisrael to come up as well. We have a surprise presentation for you. And the Rebbeinu Shalom soll helfen, as the schus von Achzokas HaTorah, the schus von Cheshivas HaTorah. We should finish Be'ezus Hashem Yisrael, the Proichis, Bevias Koil Tzedek, B'mheiro B'yameinu, Amen v'Amen.
Chazikim bo 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 Besomchei yomei isho Aitzayim milama Chazikim bo 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 Besomchei yomei isho Aitzayim milama Chazikim bo 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 Besomchei yomei isho Der of Chayo da Chino bechol nesi voiseyo sholom sholom ay derocheyo dacheno yam bechol nesi voiseyo
Humbled to be standing here tonight. Just want to just to share Hageshem of Hakaras HaTov to Agudath Yisrael. Hageshem of Hakaras HaTov on behalf of myself, on behalf of the tens of thousands of Toimchim that on a monthly basis have been Zoicha over the past 10 years to send money to be able to support Torah's Eretz Yisrael. We have tremendous Hakaras HaTov. This was enabled through Agudath Yisrael. Remember 10 years ago at the Agudath convention, the Novominsker Rebbe, Zecher Tzadik V'Kodesh Levracha, said, it's ringing in my ears and all the ears of the Askonim of Adapte Koil, how the Rebbe Zecher Levracha said, there shall not be a shul in this country that doesn't have an adapted koil. How many times? The Shiva Rabbi Chaim Levin, Zechet Tzaddik Kodesh Levracha, how many times he had said and encouraged. And here we are, 10 years later, hundreds of millions of dollars that went to support Torah's Eretz Yisrael, a dank to Agudath Yisrael. Historically, giving money to koilim in Eretz Yisrael was reserved for people with means. As a practical matter, people that Rosh Koil who came to Chutz La'aretz to collect money had a limited amount of time, and they were only able to engage, and they spent their time trying to reach people that had the ability to give more. Chafetz Chaim says that the schus of Hachzok HaTorah belongs to all of Klal Yisrael, not just to Yechidim. And through the platform of the Agudath Convention, through the platform of Agudath Yisrael, and through the encouragement of Gedolei Yisrael, we're 10 years later, and we're able to be Zoicha, to be able to not only to thank Agudath Yisrael for the schus of Hachzokas HaTorah of Torah's Eretz Yisrael, but the byproduct has also resulted in such an appreciation by Klal Yisrael of Torah's Eretz Yisrael, and for Bnei Torah and their role in Klal Yisrael. And for that, we're tremendously grateful. My tremendous shvach v'odot to the Rabbeinu Shalom, Shesamta Chalkeinu, that we can be able to be, on behalf of the tens of thousands of people that send money every month, to be Machzik Torah's Eretz Yisrael, Shesamta Chalkeinu, you gave us all the schus to be Mekusha with Loimdei Beis HaMedrash, and for that we have tremendous Hakaras HaTov. So the Eibush to helfen that in the schus of Hachzokas HaTorah, so the Eibush to geben that the Torah is megen umatzel, not only for, especially with everything, the matzav in Eretz Yisrael and around the world, the Torah should be megen umatzel, and we should be able to be Zoicha, Vaita, L'Hagdil Torah, L'Hadira, Be'ez Hashem, Yashikoyach.
Kindly focus your attention to the screens for an inspirational video.
Good work. ראשית אני רוצה להודות על הזכות וההזדמנות להשתתף באספה המרוממת והמיוחדת הזו. שמי שמואל ליטוב, בתפקיד שלי אני מנכ"ל עיריית בני ברק, שזו העיר החרדית הגדולה בישראל, עם כ-220,000 תושבים. זה תפקיד מאתגר בשגרה, ועוד יותר בשעת חירום ומלחמה. ביקשו ממני לשתף כאן הערב בכמה פרספקטיבות לגבי המלחמה שמתרחשת בימים אלו בארץ ישראל, מנקודת המבט הציבורית החרדית. כמובן שאתייחס למספר נקודות, למרות שישנם נקודות התייחסויות רבות נוספות. בחרתי לחלק את ההתייחסות לשני שלבים. ראשית, השלב הראשון, שלב ההלם והצורך הראשוני. התחושה בשבוע הראשון של המלחמה היא חוויה של טבח. אכזריות של להשמיד, להרוג ולאבד, שהתבררה, הבהירה לכולם שהמלחמה היא הרבה יותר עמוקה ממלחמה מדינית. זו מלחמת דת, ושנאה יוקדת לכל יהודי בשל היותו יהודי. החוויה הזאת יצרה אחדות גדולה בעם, והתמזגה עם הנרטיב של השואה, ותחושות הזהות של ההתמודדות עם חורבן. היא גם יצרה כמיהה של אנשים רחוקים, לחוות יותר לעומק, מהי משמעות היותם יהודים. אני שומע את זה בשיחות פנימיות, עם אנשים בכירים מאוד במשק. ובעיניי, האתגר שלנו הוא איך לשמר את התחושה הזו. מאידך, ההפתעה וחוסר המוכנות של המדינה יצרו שיתוק. והמדינה לא תפקדה באופן מספק. מה שיצר וקום גדול ותפקוד חלופי של ארגוני מתנדבים. אנחנו כעיריית בני ברק מצאנו את עצמנו עם אלפי מתפנים מרצון. מהם אנשים שהתארחו אצל ההורים בשמחת תורה ולא חזרו, ומהם אנשים שבמוצאי שמחת תורה חיפשו לברוח מהדרום, ומצאו בית בבני ברק. המדינה כאמור לא תפקדה, ואנחנו מצאנו את עצמנו מייחלים לשותפות עם ארגונים שלוקחים על עצמם לסייע לבני התורה שהלכו לגלות. בין היתר, עיריית בני ברק נעזרה באגודס ישראל כאן באמריקה, שסייעו לארוחות למשפחות המפונים. הזדמנות לומר תודה רבה, ולציין שעדיין הצורך לא נגמר. השלב השני, בארץ יש מושג שנקרא שגרת חירום, תקופה עם אתגרים משלה. בזווית העירונית יש אתגר גדול איך לשמור מתח בריא בשגרת חירום. בפרט בעיר כמו בני ברק, שבה מאידך יש את ההבטחה המיוחסת למורנה חזון איש, להגנה על העיר, ומאידך הוראה נחרצת של כל רבני העיר, לעשות את כל ההשתדלות הנדרשת. מה שגורם לנו כעירייה לבצע תרגולים רצופים, להתכנס לישיבות של הערכות מצב עם הצבא, שבסוגריים אציין שהחששות הם מפני תרחישים לא פשוטים וצריך הרבה רחמי שמיים. אבל זה יותר מקומי ופחות רלוונטי לנקודות הציבוריות. ואני רציתי כאן לדבר על נקודה ציבורית בהקשר לשלב השני. וזה הטיפול בנוער מתמודד. מזה תקופה שהשיח, גם ברשויות המקומיות החרדיות, וגם בארגונים השונים, שינה את המונח נוער נושר לנוער מתמודד. בשלב הראשון של המלחמה, רבים מהציבור החרדי היו בהלם על משפחות מסלטה ומשמנו שישבו שבעה על ילדיהם שנרצחו על קידוש השם, במסיבה שהתקיימה בעיצומה של שבת בשמחת תורה. האסון הזה העלה למודעות את ההתמודדות של הילדים שלנו ושל המשפחות שלנו, ואת הצורך שלנו כקהילה לראות ולסייע. בקורונה ראינו בבירור כלל הרשויות המקומיות בארץ, כי עת חירום מגבירה יציאה מהמערכת. לצערנו, ככה זה גם במלחמה הזו. הקשב, שבלאו הכי רופף את הילדים המתמודדים, והיציאה מהשגרה מזרזים תהליכי נשירה. מחובתנו להיות הרייבים זה לזה. אנחנו למשל בעיריית בני ברק, בעצה אחת עם הרבנים מקדישים כוח אדם עירוני, לאיתור נערים שנפלטו לרחוב. אנחנו פותחים מסגרות ייחודיות שמכונות אצלנו מרחב נוער, עם מגוון כלים שמחזקים לילדים שלנו את תחושות ההצלחה מחדש ואת תחושות היכולת מחדש. אני רוצה לסיים בנימה אישית. הבן הגדול שלנו עבר ועובר אתגרים לא קלים בבחרותו. והוא הסכים לשתף באומץ בסיפור שלו, כי הוא הבין שזה מחזק אותו ואת השומעים. אני רק רוצה להקדים ולומר, כי כשהתחילו ההתמודדויות, נכנסתי שבור ורצוץ למורי ורבי, הגויין רבינו סן דיוויד שליטה, וסיפרתי לו את הקשיים שלי ושל משפחתי. לא אשכח איך הוא תפס את ידי בחום, ואמר לי, אל תתבייש בו, אל תרגיש רגשות אשם, תדע שזה ניסיון של הקדוש ברוך הוא. תאהב אותו ותתפלל לקדוש ברוך הוא. תמסור גם לאשתך, שתדע שדמעות של אבא ואמא לא שוות ריקם. הקדוש ברוך הוא גונזם בבית גנזיו, והן פועלות. אין לנו מושג עד כמה. אגודבוך.
שלום וברכה, קהל נכבד. אני עקיבא ליטוב, ואני שמח על הזכות שניתנה לי פה לספר על הנס שקרה לי. אני בעצמי לקח לי הרבה זמן עד שהצלחתי לעכל את הכל. בהתחלה הייתי מורתע כל היום לחדשות, אולי נשמע על איזה חבר שנשאר בחיים, אבל לצערי הגיעו רק בשורות קשות, וכל אחת ריסקה אותי יותר מהשנייה. הכל עובר לך במוח ואתה לא מצליח להשתחרר, אתה כל כך רוצה לבכות את החיים, אבל אתה מנסה להאמין ולדמיין שהכל רק חלום ואני אתעורר בסוף. היה לי חבר קרוב, קראו לו אליהו, כמו אח שגדל איתי בשכונה מאז שאני זוכר את עצמי. וגם שגדלנו, כל פעם שהייתי קופץ לשכונה של ההורים שבת היינו יושבים. הוא אהב מאוד מוזיקה והוא רצה לצאת עם אלבום גדול, והיו לו חלומות גדולים לכבוש את העולם. כשהיינו קטנים, היינו כולנו עושים הרבה שטויות, ודווקא הוא התרחק מהכל. היה לו נשמה טובה שלא תפגע בזבוב. ואחרי הרבה שנים שהוא לא יצא למסיבות, הוא יצא לנובה. כמה שעות לפני שקיבלנו את הבשורות עליו, הייתי אצל ההורים שלו ואמרתי להם שאני אתן להם כסף שארגנו תהילים בשכונה כדי שיחזור בשלום. בלוויה שלו פתאום הכל התפרץ לי. עצמתי את העיניים וראיתי אותו שוכב על הרצפה. כולו מתוק וסביבו הכל דם. ואז בכיתי כמו תינוק כל הלוויה ונשארתי שם עוד כמה שעות. ורק אחרי זה הבנתי כמה אלוקים שמר עליי. אני יוצא למסיבות כבר הרבה שנים. לצערי הרב הייתי יוצא גם למסיבות בשבת. זה לא כי אני לא מאמין באלוקים. אני דווקא מאמין מאוד. אני רואה את אבא שבשמיים בכל צעד בחיי. אני מניח תפילין, מתפלל. אני אפילו עושה את בדודיות מדי פעם לדבר איתו ולבקש ממנו מה שצריך. אבל למרות כל האמונה שלי בהשם יתברך, עדיין היה לי מאוד קשה עם השבת. הייתי עובד במפעל שהחופש היחיד שהיה לי זה ביום שבת. עברתי זמנים לא פשוטים, הרבה אתגרים וניסיונות. וכשהייתי יוצא ומשתחרר הייתי מוציא במסיבות האלה את הפינה השקטה שלי. את הזמן היחידי שהצלחתי להתנתק מהחיים הרגילים, מהטרדות, מהתמודדויות. הסיבה שהייתי אוהב את המסיבות האלה כל כך, היא ששומעים שם מוזיקה שהיא רק מנגינות, בלי מילים שמזכירים לי את החיים שמחוץ לרחבת הריקודים. כשאתה שמה, נקי ממרוץ החיים, הצליל חודר לך לתוך הנשמה ומלטף אותך מכל הכיוונים. זה המקום שבו אף אחד לא שופט אותך. שמה המשוגע הוא הכי נורמלי. זה קורה בטבע היפה שלכל אחד יש את המרחב שלו. ואתה יכול לצאת עם חבר לטיול בדילוגים ורק לצחוק ולשמוח ולהיות אלוקים על העולם היפה שהוא ברא. אותי זה היה מאוד משחרר, וזה היה נותן לי מספיק אנרגיה לכל השבוע. רוב המסיבות האלה זה דתיים ולשעבר. כנראה זה בגלל הנשמה הגבוהה שלא די לה ברגושים רגילים ומחפשת להרגיש עוד ניצוצות. אבל שרף לי בלב כל פעם שחיללתי שבת. אני בן אדם שזוכה להרבה ניסים גלויים. אבא שלמעלה כל הזמן איתי, ודיברתי עם הרב על כל מה שעובר עליי עם השבתות שאני נופל. והוא אמר לי שאם אני לא מצליח, לפחות אני אשתדל בדבר שהכי קשה לי בשמירה. אני החלטתי שאני לא אעשן בשבת. לא משנה מה קורה, לא משנה מה עובר עליי, אני לא מעשן. גם אם אני שותה, ואז בכלל אתה חייב את הסיגריה. המעשנים שבינינו מבינים עד כמה זה קשה. במיוחד שאתה פרק כל יום כמה חבילות. ואם אין לי את הסיגריה שלי, כשאני צריך אותה, אני יוצא מהכלים. הייתי נוסע עם החברים באוטו וכל האוטו עשן. הייתי משתגע, לא יכלתי יותר, היה יוצא לי כבר תמונות, והחברים אומרים לי, גם ככה אתה מחלל, קח איזה שחטה. והייתי אומר להם שבשמיים עכשיו המקטרגים יושבים ואומרים, ריבונו של עולם, תראה איך הוא מחלל. והקדוש ברוך הוא נעמד ואומר להם, תראו איך הוא משתגע, מתחרפן, ובכל אופן הוא לא נוגע. אבא שאוהב אותי כל כך, שידע שגם אני אוהב אותו, ושאני לא שוכח אותו כשבא לי פתאום. ואז לפני ראש השנה החלטתי שאני אגבר על הטריגר הכי גדול בחיים שלי, ואתחיל לשמור שבת כהלכתה. אפילו הלכתי לאבא שלי וביקשתי ממנו שיבקש בשבילי מהרב שלו ברכה, שיהיה לי כל כך כיף בשבתות שאני לא ארצה שהשבת תיגמר לעולם, ושאני ארגיש את התענוג של השבת ושזה ימלא לי סיפוק ושחרור שאני מוצא במסיבות וייתן לי את אותם כוחות למשך כל השבוע. אז הרב בירך אותי ואמר לי שאני אדע גם באיזה סביבה אני עושה את השבת ואז השבת תדבר איתי. בעולם המסיבות של הטרנס יש המון סוגים של קהלים, והנובה שהייתי אוהב מאוד לצאת למסיבות שלהם היו מסננים מאוד, והיו מזמינים רק אנשים צבעוניים, מחויכים, אנשים עם אנרגיה כיפית שבאו לשמוח ולשמח אחד את השני. יום חמישי לפני האסון הגדול הייתי עם חברים בכנרת. היינו שם כמה ימים ולקראת שבת הם מאוד רצו לזוז לנובה. אבל אני התעקשתי שהם יבואו איתי לרבי שמעון. כי אני שומר. רציתי סביבה של חברים מהאווירה של שבת. בסוף אחרי מאמצים הם הסכימו לבוא איתי ולוותר על המסיבה, למרות שכל השבוע היה מלא מסיבות של הרבה קהלים, והם לא יצאו לאף אחד מהם כדי לשמור כוחות לנובה. ברוך השם, הם הסכימו לבוא איתי לשם וניצלנו. ברוך השם ששמר עליי ועל החברים שלי. חשבנו שאנחנו שמרנו את השבת, אבל באמת היא שמרה עלינו.
Please welcome to the stage Shmuel and Akiva Litov.
Hashem Elecho Eilechu V'venu shivu V'chadash Yumayni kekeyedeh V'chadash Yumayni kekeyedeh Oh Yashivayni Hashem Eilechu Eilechu V'nu shivu V'chadash Yumayni kekeyedeh Chadash Yumayni kekeyedeh Singt alle zusammen Neune Schume wie bis Neshume, ich warte so lang auf dich. Neshume, gib sie mir, oh Neshume. Oh Neshume, wie bist du? So blonde, weißt wie. Neshume, gib sie mir, oh Neshume. Oh ja, niemand Moshiach ani mamri V'yavari she'is baveya Imekol ze ani mamri Imekol ze Oy yachak Eloi Oy yachak Eloi B'chol yoy
We'd like to thank several dignitaries that are here this evening. New York State Assemblyman Sam Berger, New York City Councilman Kalman Yeager, Judge Saul Stein, and Mayor Lichtenstein, member of Lakewood Township. Families for... we welcome our newest elected official, Rabbi Schnall. Lecha Hashem Agdula. The Gemara in Brachas teaches us Gdula refers to Chesed. I cannot speak of the Rosh Yeshiva's godless B'Torah. That would require a Talmid Chacham of the highest order, which I am not. But I can testify about another ear of his godless. The Rosh Yeshiva carries the burden of Klal Yisrael on his shoulders and doesn't merely address the issues. The Rosh Yeshiva is an Adam Gadol who empathizes and experiences the Tsar and the Simcha along with each and every individual, who clearly understands the issues at hand, takes achrayus, and gives his advice. The Rosh Yeshiva's heart pumps Ahavas Yisrael. It's an honor to ask Rav Elia Brunei Shlita, Rosh Yeshiva Mir Brooklyn, and Chav Metzik Gdola to address the Olam.
Shus, Moranan, Rabbanan, Gdolei Hador Shlita, Rabbonim, Abitzei Torah, fellow members of Klal Yisrael, members of the Agudath, the Klal Yisrael, Achai v'Reyai. The first thing is Poischen B'chvoid Achsanya. Very rarely do we give credit to what Agudath Yisrael is and what it accomplishes, and to those that are Moise Nefesh, Yomim V'Leilos, for its Hatzlacha, and its Hatzlacha is Klal Yisrael's Hatzlacha. The executive board, the board, and as was mentioned before, Yedideinu, Reb Shlomo Zal Gezon Zayin, who is chairman of the board, the Anhola erected by Yedideinu, executive vice president of Chaim David Shlita, the office, and all those that work so tirelessly, the operations, and headed by our dear Chief of Operations, Rabbi Yitzchok Shlita. Pasha, the amount of Yegiya and Amelus that went in this alone to create such a Shabbos, such a convention, that every prat to prat, the Ruchnius, the Gashmius, the Achdus, the Yedidus, nothing comes easy, and everything had to be done with so much master planning, and so many people were involved on details, broader ones, narrower ones, and for this, a Gavaldi Yasher Koyach Ma'omek Alev. We say in the Zmiris, Shabbos is l'chme'ein olam haba. And I had this Shabbos, an experience like that. We say in the davening of Shani Yom Kippur, we daven for the Yosit, for the world of olam haba, the Yosu kulam aguda echos, lasos v'tzoincha b'leiv of sholem. And this is what you felt the whole Shabbos, and the whole convention. It's an Aguda Achas from all different angles. Those that are in the Dalet Amos Shel Halacha, those that are the Koivim Mitim La Torah, the Yisachars, the Zvuluns. It's an Aguda Achas, Lases V'Tzaycha B'Leiv of Sholem, and you were margish in everywhere, in every session, and in the davenings, and in the sudas, the Ki'ish Echad B'Leiv Echad. Also wie sie da, Mika Amcha Yisrael, es ist nicht da, als Sache wie unser Agudath. So der Eibischte uns helfen, we should only have Siyata Deshmaya and go Michael or Choyel. Schuschem, ich gewollt stellen an two psukim that were discussed very much over the Shabbos and in the sessions, and I think they bring out the uniqueness of the mission of Agudath Yisrael, specifically in these turbulent times, in these troubled times, the Eis Tzareh Yaakov times that we find ourselves today. Steht in Pasuk, Vayivase Yaakov levadoi, Vayeyovek ish imoi. Ad alois hashachar. This pasuk, Chazal say on the pasuk Vayivase Yaakov levadoi. One of the Rosh Hashivas mentioned it. I don't remember in which drasha it was. It's found a Chazal on the pasuk that we lay in V'zos Habracha on that day, Anoisa Yom Amar v'Hanimar, Ein Kokel Yeshurun. Pasuk says Roichev Shomayim be'ezrecha, but Chazal darshan Ein Kokel, Umi Kokel. There's one that's Kokel, and who is that? Yeshurun. Yeshurun is Yisrael's Sava. By the Rebbeinu Shalom Kivayachol state the pasuk v'nizgav Hashem levadoi vayoimahu. Rebbeinu Shalom is the Einoid milvadoi, and the world will recognize it vayoimahu. On that day, it will be v'nizgav Hashem levadoi vayoimahu. But there is in the human race is eich faranen a inyan for levadoi. Vayivase Yaakov levadoi. Vayivase Yaakov levadoi. Maybe it's the inyan of ein am levadod yishka. Ubagoyim lo yischashov. But that godless of Yaakov Avinu, that he was moirish l'doire doiris in Klal Yisrael, of being able to be levadoi kivayachol, oblivious to a bria kula, in a world of over 7 billion people, inhabitants. It's a kleina umala, an umal of katema ma'at, maybe 13 million people, of which l'tzarenu, l'davonenu, b'avonisenu, arabim, a minority, a distinct minority, Ashloime Emuni Yisrael, Oivdei Hashem, Medagdekim b'Torah v'mitzvahs. But they are levadoi. In this world of hepech levadoi, of hepech elokus, of hepech Yiddishkeit, of hepech all the values that the Torah HaKadosh teaches, is Vayivase Yaakov levadoi, v'nizgav Hashem levadoi bayoimahu. And then is Vayeyovek ish imoi. Like we learn in Rashi, Sover Shel Esav attacks him. And maybe because that was the moment that epitomizes the shleimus, the shalem of Vayivase Yaakov levadoi, then was Vayeyovek ish imoi. I can't just zulassen. So is Shalesav Kenish Sulasen Avayivase Yaakov levadoi. Is Avayeyovek ish imoi ad alois hashachar. Aber vayar ki lo yochel lo. Noch alle meises is geblieben lo yochel lo. Et nicht ungewirrt in de levadoi. Geblieben a Yivase Yaakov levadoi. But he didn't give up. Steht noch a Pasuk, Vayiga bekaf yirechoi. Vateka kaf yerech Yankov b'yeyof koi imoi. Is voran in Chazal. Zohar HaKadosh. Kaf Yerechoi represents Tamchin de Oraisa. Tamchin de Oraisa, the support system on which Torah rests, the Enkemach Ein Torah, the Shimon Achi Azariah, the Smach Zvulun B'Tzeisecha, the Yisacha V'Hoyalecha. There, the Sorah Shel Esav made of Ateika, Kaf, Yerech, Yaakov, V'Eyov Koi Imoy. Weißt du es, that the Lo Yochaloi was the Dioraisa Alein, the Batek Nesiyos, the Batek Midrashos, the Miyoim Shechorav Beis Hamikdash Ein Lo LaKadosh Baruch Hu Al Daled Amos Shel Halacha Bilvat, that remain intact. Ad Alois HaShachar. Yaakov Avinu Ki Vayachal stood his ground. Lo Yochaloi. But the Sorah Shel Esav hat ungewirrt bekaf Yerechoi. Vateika kaf Yerech Yankov V'Eyov Goyim. Is men eingewähnt, that is a category on the Tomchin Torah, that through all the ages that Torah needs their Tamchin. There's a besondere koyach that's menage to that and makes it difficult and makes their mission very difficult, sometimes next to impossible. That he accomplished. Aber man kann sich misbeinen sein. Noch alle Meises. It works. We're in this Medina. Das heißt, from when Torah was planted here, over 80 years ago, the Tamchin have always come through. The Eibishter has Avi Shluchim Lamocha. The Tamchin system works. Incredible. The Kiddush Hashem is beyond. Aber was hat da aufgetan? What did the Sorah Shel Esav do that he created a Vateika Kaf Yerech Yaakov? That the Tamchin Doraisa system, he dislocated it, a dislocated disc. That's the disc that's holding up the hip. The Yerech of Klal Yisrael. What did he accomplish? That, hey, look at Tamchin Doraisa. One has Shverikeiten, another has, one has less, one has more. That's it should accomplish. That's the big accomplishment in the scheme of the Shlichus of Klal Yisrael. Efshe kann man klären, da steht etwas noch eine Sache. Wir leben in einer bittere, finstere Golus. Our Golus, if we're misbeinen, has a certain finsterkeit that we never experienced before. Yesuri Aguf, Vidifis, Shmodis, Harigis, we experienced over the ages much more, incredibly more, than the Malchus Shel Chesed, this incredible gift from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, this Malchus Shel Chesed that we're living here for all these years. Obadiyachi, the Beis HaLevi is Miyarochi. When Esav is our comrade, as unser Yedid, we work with him. We make business with him. We interact with him in the halls of government, in commerce. Lebanon is my best Yedid. What he's thinking in his heart, we don't know. Now we see a little bit more. As unser Kivayachal, he's our friend. He's our Yedid. Torah has to go through a smach zvulun b'tzeisecha in order there should be a yisacha v'yoyalecha. In the yoyalecha, in the Holei Yaakov, in the Yoshev Olim of the Holei Yaakov, the Sorah Shel Esav wasn't pageya. But when those of us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends them out of the Holei Yaakov, he planted them in Shevet Zvulun. They're the Shimon Achi Azariah of Klal Yisrael. their chelik HaTorah, in addition to their own limud and their own lamed and their own harving and learning and kriyusitim, is that they have to go out into the world of commerce, into the world of America, of the greater world, kedei to support the Torah. It's they're born into that achrayus. Und das sie dürfen in jene Welt. Let's take the world we're living in today. What happened with the Amma Yosef B'tzion and Simchas Torah? Azat Sorah was nicht given kemat in the lifetime of all of us. Since Achman al-Islam, the Lahashmit Laharik Kufa of World War II. In the Ola Yaakov, in the Bate Knesiyas and the Bate Midrashas, where the Sorry Shalesov was lo yochaloi, from the ersten Moment. Everybody knew, was will man von uns? How's our response? What's the call to action? The first response is, Oim deisoyu ragleinu b'sharayich Yerushalayim. Mish goram l'ragleinu lamoid b'mulchama, shorecha Yerushalayim. The shorim ha'metziyonim v'alocha. We've verstanden that's a time for chizuk. Chizuk be'echus, chizuk be'kamus, shmira from Bittul Torah. Yes, Yisro in shmira from Bittul Torah. And we knew that that's the mulchama. Acheinu b'nei Yisrael that never have to fight the poil b'mulchama. We're the support system. The Daled Amos Shel Halacha worldwide are the support system. L'amid b'mulchama. On deisoyu ragleinu, mi goram l'ragleinu. We all know that clearly in the Daled Amos Shel Halacha. We know what tefillah in the Shas HaMulchama is. We know that the Medrash Rabbah in Parshas Matos, Chaim Shmulevitz Zatzal brings it in a Sefer, state in the Medrash in Parshas Matos, Elef Lamate. That when they drafted in the Mulchamas Chemidyon, Moshe Rabbeinu, they drafted 1,000 soldiers from a Shevet. They drafted 1,000 Mispalalim with the 1,000 soldiers. Elef Lamate. Und in unsere Yeshivas, und in alle Yeshivas, und in alle Daled Amos Shel Halacha von Yisachar, es ist dvorm Pshutim. Das spielt sich aus der Mulchama. Der Mulchama spielt sich aus in Torah. Der Mulchama spielt sich aus in Tefillah. Der Mulchama spielt sich aus in Gemilus Chasadim. Ma yasa Adam v'yinotzel mechevlei Moshiach. Yasok b'Torah ubigmilus chasadim is dvorm shuti. Und avade shevet zvulun that the Eibishter forced them to go out, and in addition to their limud ulamed lishmer velasis to be oisik in pragmatia in derech eretz, they know that, and they live that, and their children live that, but they are exposed. The Yerech Yaakov, the Kaf Yerechoi, is exposed to a whole different view of current events. They can't avoid seeing how the Yumas Ha'olam view current events. Shvachman al-Itzlan, the Soinim, the open Soinim. Every Medina Kemat is an open Soinim. Even in our Malchus Shel Chesed, who the Rebbeinu Shalom v'Chasadav Amerubim was Mata Leva Malchus v'Yoyatzov Aleinu l'Toiva in an incredible way, and I don't know if we're Mekayim enough Akaras HaToiv in that. But Soif Kol Soif, it's all Darkei Tachsisei Mulchama, Darkei Teva. How could we avoid, if we're in that world, how could we avoid being prone to machshavas of koichi, of oitzem yodi, or machshavas of natural, strategic cause and effects? And that's a vateka. Vibal Torah is premised, Altzis Torah. And the Sorah Shalesav wants to eradicate and weaken Torah. And he's a lo yochaloi in the Bismedrish. So where does he shaf Schwachkeit? He shaf Schwachkeit when those of us that their chelik HaTorah necessitates leaving the Bismedrish. And they see a ganze Welt an Olam Hafach. And when we come to the issue that's most rampant today, this terrible explosion of anti-Semitism, even in our Malchus Shel Chesed. Again, how does it, Dalet Amos Shel Halacha, how does it in the Hole Yaakov, how do we view anti-Semitism? We know, we learned, we have already a Mishnah's Dura. We know Mikan Yordosin Elumas Oilam, Lama Nikvish Mosinai. We know Esav al Bahalachahi, She'esav Soina Liyaakov. We know Hafach Libam Lisnayamoy, Liasnakel Bechirav. We know the Beis HaLevi in Parshas Mois. We know the Meshech Chochmah in Parshas Mechukah. We know. It's a klar. V'avdil eschem beino amim, mino amim li yoisli, im atem uvdolim, atem shali, im ein atem uvdolim, asher atem shel Nebuchadnezzar. These are dvorim pshutim, that we're prepared, Rachmana litzlan, for changes in the reality on the ground. Because mitas gelernt in the yeshiva, that's olive base in the Dalet Amos Shel Halacha. But our shutfim, who smacks vulun b'tzeisecha, by necessities b'tzeisecha, l'choif yamim yishkoim v'yarchaso yatzidoim. Who is that's the Metzias. In the ganze Welt, that causes a terrible confusion. Ashreinu matoiv chalkeinu Rabbeisai. That in this room, in this Shabbos, in this Moitze Shabbos, and in the constant gewaltige, heilige Liebe Chachashutfis between the Yisachar of Agudath Yisrael and the Zvulun of Agudath Yisrael, there is no confusion. They go out and say Secha. They come back and they interact with their Baha'alecha, with their Shimon Achi Azariah, with their Usiklar. Yolamdeinu Rabbeinu, that's the biggest question on Agudath Balabas fact, like we just heard. It's kemat. The Mulchama of Sorei Shel Esav, Yene Nacht ad Alois HaShachar. He was bechalal a failure, a total failure in the Dalet Amos Shel Halacha. He attempted to rear on the Levadoi, the Einoidno Levadoi, the Veyevase Yaakov Levadoi, outside the Dalet Amos. In that little bit of Yitziyah Mebeis HaMedrash that's required for Zvulun B'Tzeisecha. The Eibishter hat uns gegeben an Agudath, like we just heard the charter of Agudath when it was at its inception 100 and a few years now. What was the charter of building Agudath Yisrael? What it was intended, how it was intended. Katowice is already much more than that, before the First World War. But das ist das. Agudath steht auf Yolamdeinu Rabbeinu. There is no confusion. The Olecha and the B'tzeisecha, we understand it exactly the same. Because the Zustellachts, from an Agudath Balabas to the Moire Derech that the Rebbeinu Shalom gifted us in Agudath Yisrael. Shalom b'cheilech, shalva b'Mitzrayim, v'nayich boinoich, v'boit Menschen, v'boit Mishpaches, v'boit Welt. That Achdus between the Olam HaTorah, the Dalet Amos Shel Halacha, and the Zvulun. And for that, I think it's a It's a sugya, and I hope I wasn't chas v'shalom shaloi kahalacha. I think that if you learn that the Sarah Shaleisov hat sich meloichim given of them vayivase Yankel Levadoi, and he was a loyachaloi, but he was a noga bekaf yerechoi, and he created a vateka kaf yerech, and it's all about Torah, and it's all about, like Chazal say, tamchin doiraisa. So I don't know how rochek min apshat these words are. Soll uns der Eibishter helfen, we should be nigel from the tzaras. Yoimel tzaras, seinu dai. Klal Yisrael have, like we just heard, should have a pricha. I think the Gerer Rebbe, Zechat Tzadik V'Kodesh L'Vrocha, the Yimei Yemes, said in the Churva Shul, towards the end of the Bittere Mulchama, Umimeno Yivosha. We said, da beginnen was the Eibishter Macht, a gewaltige Zara Schenke, du Gmasai. Aber der Choshech, wie Rabbi Yoine sagt, ist der Siba Sa'ira. So schon Zeicha sein Bekarev, zu Yeshuasan Shal Yisrael, und wir sollen Tage Zeicha sein Bekarev, to be his Goel Tzedek and Mary Amen.
Jews will not replace us! Jews will not replace us!
For many years, anti-Semitism always found itself in the recesses of society. The darkest corners of the world saw the worst forms of anti-Semitism.
Unfortunately, over the last few years, this has changed. People in the mainstream society of our culture have no problem to say things that are utterly anti-Semitic.
Misinformation runs throughout the whole of the city, and a good piece of that started with the New York Times smear campaign.
The New York Times created a reality that facts do not matter. That when it comes to the Jewish community, you can make claims, you can make accusations without having your facts backed up.
We started seeing articles with open bigotry, open discrimination, really unmasked, unvarnished, absolute, unmitigated hate.
Not only was there no balance in providing positivity about the community, but also that which was there in the negativity, some of it just was wrong, was out and out wrong.
Once those attacks on our community happened, in the written world, they now escalated in the physical world. Jews across New York City were being harassed, ridiculed, cursed, and even beaten.
And so what was once a small problem has now exploded and become a massive, massive threat to the viability and future of the Jewish community, both in New York, across the country, and around the world. Agudath Yisrael recognized the need to start a completely brand new division that would be 100% solely focused on attacking and pushing back and fighting against this tremendous threat to the Jewish people. And so Know Us was born.
The focus of the programming was to spread the truth and counter the misinformation by allowing the outside world to know us, our people at the individual level, our communal organizations, how we live our life, according to what standards, according to what values.
In a short span of time, since Know Us was launched, we began to see the narrative and the process shift. The New York Times was called out by other prominent websites. Elected officials that till now were only seeing one side of a story now had a new address to go to for the truth.
The New York Times was working very hard that their series of articles against the community should be rewarded with the publisher and journalism's highest honors of the Pulitzer Prize.
The Pulitzer Prize is given out every year to recognize excellence, leadership, and innovation in journalism. One of the drivers behind the New York Times campaign of almost 20 articles was so that the writers and the newspaper could contend for one of the categories of the Pulitzer given out this last year. We were not prepared for the Pulitzer Committee to consider the application without our input.
The Know Us campaign targeted every single member of the Pulitzer Prize Committee, and ultimately they were denied the honor that they sought. And that to us was an extraordinary victory.
When we say we want Palestine to be free, it's from the river to the sea. The river to the sea. Palestine will be
It is no secret that the Jewish people are right now under attack. There isn't one Jewish community anywhere in the United States or anywhere around the world that is not vulnerable to anti-Semitism.
It is a war being waged in the arena of the public, of public perception, of PR.
The anti-Israel, anti-Jewish organizations out there are extremely loud. They are powerful. They are organized. We need to be equally loud, powerful, and organized. We are looking for tens of thousands of people who agree and feel the same way we do to make their voices heard to members of Congress.
Know Us has now begun a new initiative, Know Us Take Two, with the goal of creating a grassroots effort of every member of Klal Yisrael taking 2 minutes a day to reach out to various elected officials, encouraging them to continue to fight for what's right.
If a congressman or a senator gets 200 calls from the Palestinian community and no calls from our community, no matter how close he is to our community, it doesn't have the impact. Every person has a responsibility to reach out to their elected officials, to reach out to anybody that has influence.
Numbers count. The numbers of people who come forward and reach out specifically to their congressmen and their senators with these letters are making a real difference.
I ask you, I plead with you, don't underestimate your power. Stand up, be counted, take two, and send an email.
Speak up, speak the truth, hit the link, and allow our elected officials to know us.
In the Beis Medrash of the Talmud Torah in Kelm, many signs were posted during the month of El, encouraging the Talmidim of the yeshiva to do teshuvah. One sign read, Achdus ha'avodim hikima malchus. Unity of the servants sustained the kingdom. When a kingdom is full of people who are always fighting and squabbling, is an indication that the constituents have their own interests uppermost in their minds. On the other hand, when there is unity among the subjects of the king, this is a sign that the primary focus of their lives is the glory of their ruler. This ultimately ensures the permanence of the monarchy. We must be focused and unified in order to show the Rebbeinu Shalom that we care about the splendor of his kingdom and its continuity. Reb Chaim David Zwiebel has given life to be ma'ached the avodim, to unify the Klal Yisrael Agudath. He's selfless, humble, kind, and full of wisdom. Reb Chaim David personifies the mantra of Agudah. Serving Klal Yisrael as a true Eved Hashem. It is now an honor and pleasure to introduce Agudath Yisrael, Executive Vice President Reb Chaim David Zwiebel.
Thank you, Rabbi. Rishus Chaver Metzis Gleli Atayra Shlita. Rishus Rabbanim Chashuvim. Rashi Yeshiva Admirim. Kol HaKol HaKadosh Hazeh. And as Rabbi Sherry used to always add on, Achai V'Rei. It's a big chizik for us. It's a big chizik for us, this convention. Looking out at the crowd tonight, B'li Ayin Hara, packed to the gills, Baruch Hashem. And at a time which has been a difficult time. And we know it's been a difficult time. There have been a lot of controversial matters, issues. But Baruch Hashem, Klal Yisrael has come together We come together to give one another chizuk, to give us chizuk, and to put us all in a position where, Be'ezus Hashem, we can accomplish as an Am Echad, as a united people, as Ari just mentioned. Thank you. It means the world to us. We just saw a very harrowing video prepared by the NOAS division of Agudath Yisrael. And the truth of the matter is that the hashlachot, the ramifications of what happened on Shmini Atzeres Simchas Torah B'Artzeinu HaKadoshah are being felt all over the world. It's not just, obviously, our thoughts and our tefillos are with Achenu B'nai Yisrael in Eretz Yisrael, who are literally on the front lines of a war. But at the same time, things are going on all across the world. In Europe, even here, as the Shiva just mentioned, in the Malchus Shel Chesed of America. I'd like to read to you an excerpt from a letter that was written to the president of Harvard University from one of its trustees. And he writes as follows: Jewish students are being bullied, physically intimidated, spat on, physically assaulted. On campus, protesters on the Wiedner building steps shout, "Intifada, Intifada, Intifada, from the river to the sea, Palestine shall be free." In Harvard University. The United States Department of Office of Civil Rights, Department of Education Office of Civil Rights, has commenced an investigation into allegations of anti-Semitism at Harvard. But not just Harvard. There are currently ongoing investigations that I'm aware of in Columbia, Cornell, Wellesley College, University of Pennsylvania, University of Tampa, Cooper Union. I think most of us know the story that happened in Cooper Union College, where a number of students had to barricade themselves inside a library to avoid a marauding gang of anti-Semites. And it's not just colleges, school districts, Las Vegas, Tampa, and the New York City Department of Education. I think people are probably familiar with the other story that we've been hearing lately about the teacher at Hillcrest High School in Queens who had participated in a pro-Israel rally, and there had been some posts on social media that she was at this rally, and the students of the school decided to get together and chase her and intimidate her and who knows do what with her, and she had to barricade herself in a locked room to protect herself against students here in Queens, New York. V'chohena, v'chohena. So many stories. We hear about the uptick in incidents of anti-Semitism. Uptick? Explosion. It was an uptick, and it was a pretty sharp uptick even before October 7th, so to say. But since then, the United States Senate Majority Leader, Senator Chuck Schumer, who is Jewish, has appeared at many Agudath functions over the years, and is today the highest ranking Jewish elected official in the history of the United States. He took a remarkable step just last week, and he went to the Senate floor and he spoke for 40 minutes, gave a special address on the topic of anti-Semitism. And much of it is really very powerful and very remarkable for this to have happened. I'll read some of the things that he said. He spoke first about the statistics showing the rise, the sharp increase, the uptick, the explosion in anti-Semitic hate crimes all across the United States. And after he quoted those statistics, he says, after October 7, Jewish Americans are feeling singled out, targeted, and isolated. In many ways, we feel alone. The solidarity that Jewish Americans initially received from many of our fellow citizens quickly became drowned out by other voices. Thank you. Okay. And he quoted some of those other voices. And he says, some of those other voices came from people we thought were our friends. And you understand, politically, you'll understand what he's saying in a moment. He says as follows: even worse, in some cases, some people even celebrated what happened. Many of the people who have expressed these sentiments in America are not neo-Nazis or card-carrying Klan members or Islamist extremists. They are in many cases people that most liberal Jewish Americans felt previously were their ideological fellow travelers. Not long ago, many of us marched together for black and brown lives. We stood together against anti-Asian hatred. We protested bigotry against the LGBTQ community. We fought for reproductive justice out of the recognition that injustice against one oppressed group is injustice against all. But, said Senator Schumer, apparently, in the eyes of some, that principle does not extend to the Jewish people. And he concluded his statement by saying, the long arc of Jewish history teaches us a lesson that is hard to forget. Ultimately, we are alone. And as I read those words, I was thinking of Kafsa Achas ben Shivim Ze'evim. We're all alone, right? We're all alone. But really we're not. Gam ki yelech b'geitz ha'maves le'yirara, ki ato imadi. We're not alone. The Eibishter is with us. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is imadi, is with us, even when we get b'geitz ha'maves. And so there are shivim ze'evim, but the Kafso Achas is flanked by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I want to tell you a story that I may have said from this podium. I don't know. This is my 40th. This is my 40th convention. So I may have told this story once before. I know I told it a few weeks ago at an Einikel's Eifruf. And I reminded myself of something that my mother, Aleh Shalom, told me when my nephew was getting Eifgerufen. And she went to shul. My nephew was a Chaim Berliner, and the Eifruf was in Sifta Chaim Berlin on Coney Island Avenue. And my mother, as the grandmother of the Chassan, came to participate in the Simcha. And afterwards, she told me, you know, when I saw what was going on in shul today, I reminded myself of something that happened to me before your father and I came to live in America. My parents were married in 1939, in February of 1939, and my father at that time he had been working and had some cash saved up and was able to obtain something called a capitalist visa to come into the United States. I think you needed $5,000 in order to get into the US under the capitalist visa. And so he said, I want to go to America, but where am I going to find somebody to marry in America? So first I have to get married. Married my mother in February of 1939. At the Chasana, my mother told me, at the Chasana, Uncle Loser, Feta Loser, came over to her and said, Menicha, ich hear as it's Fort Can America. I hear you're planning to move to America. So she said, yeah. So Feta Loser told her, Menicha, die gedenkst de Babcha? You remember your grandmother? Avada gedenk ich de Babcha? Of course I remember her. Zoals I gedenken de Babcha, weil in Amerika sind in de Steine Treif. Always remember your grandmother, because in America, the stones are treif. And my mother told me, there I was in Chaim Berlin a few minutes ago, and I was looking down from the Ezras Nashim upstairs into the Beis Medrash, and I saw a sea full of talesim and black hats. And I reminded myself what Feta Loser had told me. In this coming week's Parsha, what prevented Yosef HaTzadik from succumbing to the temptations of Eshes Beitifar? So Chazal tell us, Nira Salai, Nira Loi D'mus Yuknai Shel Aviv. The D'mus Yuknai, the image of his father, appeared to him. I saw a vart, I don't know if it's from the Kotzka or somewhere else. It says, Nira Salai, what does Nira Salai mean? It doesn't mean that it appeared to him. Nira Salai is like when we learn a shtickle taisis and it says Veniro Lari. What does Veniro mean? Veniro means, and it seems to the read that the correct thing is Nira Salai D'mus Yuknai Shel Aviv. He was saying to himself, I'm about to do this Avera. If I do this Avera, what will my children look like? What will my children look like if I do this? They're going to look like all the other little mitzvah shekindalach running around all over the place. Is that what I want? Or do I want my children to look like my father, like Yaakov Avinu? And so Nira Salai D'mus Yuknai Shel Aviv says in Gefallen, he decided what he wanted for his children is that they should look like Yaakov. And the Mela, when the pasuk says, when Yaakov Avinu tells Yosef HaTzadik, Ra'ofa necha lo filolti, I didn't think I'd ever see your face. V'hinei hera oisi elokim games zarecha. What does that mean? V'hinei hera oisi. It should say, V'hinei herani elokim games zarecha. Hashem showed me your children. What's hera oisi elokim games zarecha? No, hera oisi elokim games zarecha. I look at your children and I see myself. I see me because you raised them. You raised them to never forget the D'mus Yuknai Shel Aviv. And that's why they look like D'mus Yuknai Shel Aviv. Habeit mishamayim urei ki ayinu lag v'keles bagoyim nechshavnu l'katzayin l'tevach yuval la'areg ula'abed u'lamako l'cherpa u'v'chol zois, and with all this shimcha lo shachachnu mefages nish de bapcha mefages nish de eibishter Shem Hashem. And because Shimcha Lo Shachachnu, that gives us the kayach to tell the Rebbeinu Shalom, No, Al Tishkachenu. You Hashem, don't forget us. The barbarians came on Shmini Atzeres. Shmini Atzeres is the day that signifies the love that exists between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Klal Yisrael. That's the ultimate, the yichud between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Klal Yisrael is Shmini Atzeres. And on Shmini Atzeres, the Reitzchim came. Because they wanted to cut that love up. They wanted to put us to the test. Our answer is Shimcha Lo Shachachnu. V'chol zois, Shimcha Lo Shachachnu. We'll never forget. We'll always keep our memories in our minds, no matter what the society does around us. We're going to be taka alone in a certain sense, but not really alone. Ki ato imadi. Thank you very much.
Rabbi Yavin Eisenberger, the beloved Rav of Kal Heichat Tefillin Borough Park. He delivers shiurim throughout the New York area. His nusach of Yerushalayim, coupled with Metz Ahava, has created a unique kihila of over 1,000 mishpachas, where his meraimim and elevates those mishpachas above and beyond whatever they thought possible. As a world-renowned mashpia, he enables his kihila to find greatness within themselves. His svarim, aptly named Mesilas Levava, Mesilas Neviim, help one pave the path for kedusha and help one get in touch with his pneumias. Rabbi Yemen's heart is extraordinary, and his reach spreads far and wide. It's now covered to introduce Rabbi Yemen Eisenberger.
a gute Woche, it's a gewaltige Schuss to stand here tonight mitzad sheni, I be'emes hafcharoto, looking at the dais, the oivenon, the Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbonim, Gedolei HaTorah, Einei Oeda. My cousin Reb Moti calls me, he says, I want to talk to you about something. I said, what? He says, speaking at the Agudath convention. I said, oh, Father, it's a Kiddush Hashem, it's a great idea, don't hesitate. He says, yeah, but I meant you. And at that point, I remember the Heilige Wort for the B'Yisrael Salante, the Heilige Chofetz Chaim. How is Hashem going to judge us? Hashem will find somewhere in our history and check how we judged others exactly in this inyan, in this subject. I tried to wiggle out, but once I said Gewaldig, it's Kvod Shemayim, it's a good idea. I'm here tonight. But as I walked in, from one Rosh Yeshiva to another Rosh Yeshiva to another Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbonim, Gdoilim, and I got a little bit of a sample of what everybody must have heard b'meshech the Nesroimim Dige Shabbos, Shabbos of Esroimimus, of Achtus. My emissar Goshe is b'mokim Gdoilim al Tamuit. And not only Gdoilim as in Gdoilei Ador, Gdoilei Oeda, but even Agudath Yisrael is a Inyan Godol. It's huge. There are many Shabbosim at this point. I think this hotel itself probably has a Shabbos running very often. A convention of this, a convention of that. Agudath Yisrael preceded all these organizations. Agudath Yisrael on many levels served and continues to serve as a catalyst to many, if not most, of all those Shabbosim organizations that do such beautiful and significant work for Klal Yisrael. It's a true b'mokim gedolim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu soll helfen. First, all the Yidden, the große Yidden sitting on the dais. I don't know if the Oilum, the Tzibur, realizes what it means for Yidden in this level of Gadlus to give up so much time. I'm sitting here, I'm watching the Rosh Yeshiva, sitting patiently listening to droshes. It's a gift to Klal Yisrael, it's a gift to us all. We have to appreciate it. And like we heard from Rabbi Brudny, to appreciate the Tamchin Doiraisa, the Yisachar Zvulun, the Yisachars, the Zvulins in the Yisachars, the Yisachars in the Zvulins, the Eibusha soll helfen. It's a tremendous Eis Rotzoin. Everyone is saying Tachnun, Sheni, V'chamishi with more Kavona. And we say, Yirotzoin, Melefnei Avinu Shabashamayim, Yirotzoin, Melefnei Avinu Shabashamayim, Yirotzoin, Melefnei Avinu Shabashamayim. And all of a sudden we say, Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael, Anesunim Batzoru Vashivyo. The Heilige Belzerov asked, why don't we say, Yirotzoin, Melefnei Avinu Shabashamayim, that Achenu B'nei Yisrael, Anesunim Batzoru Vashivyo, Amdemem Bayom, Amokim Irachem. It deserves a strong Yirotzoin. So the Heilige Belzerov, when it's Achenu B'nei Yisrael, you don't need to say Yehi Rotzoin, it is a Eis Rotzoin. A tremendous Eis Rotzoin now. Between the droshes and maybe during the droshes, close your eyes and say Atfilah to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's a Eis Rotzoin of Achenu B'nei Yisrael, sitting together, listening to the Dvar Hashem, trying to gain perspective, Hisoirus. And Hashem should help that this Eis Rotzoin should take a result in the Gula Shleima B'Meira Omein. The Gemara says in Masechta Tainis, El Yitzayir Odom im Atzibur. A person should be mitzayer himself, he should pain himself with the tzibur, shkein motzinu b'Moshe. We find by Moshe Rabbeinu, by Melchemes Amalek, v'idei Moshe kvedim. And Chazal HaKadoshim say he could have sat down on a pillow, on a couch, on something comfortable, but he chose dafka a stone, v'yosimu tachto ve'even, v'yeshev oleo. So Chazal HaKadoshim asks, so why did he sit on a stone? Elo kach omar Moshe. Hoil v'Yisrael shruyin b'tzar, afani eya imoim b'tzar. Yidna b'tzar, I will be b'tzar. V'chol ha'metzayir atzmo im ha'tzibur, zoiche v'roye b'nechom ha'tzibur. If you pain yourself when the tzibur is in pain, you're zoiche to see b'nechom ha'tzibur. And Chazal HaKadoshim go further, they say, but who's going to know if I was metzayir myself? And there's a four-way machloikis in the Gemara, whether the walls, avnei beisoi, Eivor of Shalodom, the neshama of a person, who's going to be made that the person was pained with the pain of the tzibur? Rebaren Zechatzadik Levrocha asked a kasha. He asked, why is it that Chazal chose this posuk by Melchemes Amalek, where Moshe Rabbeinu sits down on a stone, as the posuk to teach us that a person should be mitzayer himself with the tzar of the tzibur? L'chura, there's a much clearer makor. Vayigdal Moshe, vayetzi alecho, vayarbis evloisom, vayarish mitzri makei. And Moshe Rabbeinu, as Chazal HaKadoshim said, Me'itein moisi aleichem, I wish I could die, I wish I could help, and he went out and he helped. He gave his ksefayim, he gave his shoulders to help everybody that was burdened, that was farmuchit. Asked Rabban Zechatzadik Levrocha, so why doesn't Chazal bring this as a makor that a person should be mitzayer himself with the tzibur? And Rabban answered, Enochanami, this would be a makor that you have to pain yourself with the tzibur. But Moshe Rabbeinu actually did something to alleviate the pain of the tzibur. Moshe Rabbeinu actually went out and he was noig minig achim v'enoisen kseifa v'misayeh lechol echod ve'echod. He did something to alleviate the pain. So and that's not what Chazal are trying to teach us. That you learn from Vayigdal Moshe v'yetzi alechov. Chazal are teaching us a different limud. That even Moira v'Rabbai say there's nothing you could do to alleviate the pain of another yid. There's nothing you could do. Even if we're in a matzav, there isn't anything we could do to actually minimize the pain of a yid. Zog the Gemara Yitzayer Atzmo Yem HaTzibur. We're to pain ourselves with the tzibur. It's not going to help the tzibur that Moshe Rabbeinu was sitting on a stone in discomfort. He could have sat on a couch. But there is a chiyuv to pain ourselves when the tzibur is bitzar. Und the emes I read, Odom Choshev was on a flight with Reb Shnei Zechatzadik Levrocha, and he asked Reb Shnei, tell me something about Reb Aaron, and befrat about the Zman where Yisrael was shruyin bitzar. And the Rishiva Reb Shnei said, the world knows a lot about what Reb Aaron, my father, did, a lot of his accomplishments, a lot of his Mesiras Nefesh. I want to tell you something about my mother. I want to share with you something about my mother. He said, my mother had a sweet tooth. She liked a kotzke zucker, a cube of sugar with her tea, sweetened tea. He said, from the day the war broke out until Yidden went back, Ishtachas Gavni, Ishtachas Teinosoi, she refused to put the sugar in her mouth while sipping on her tea. Nobody in Europe gained anything from the lack of a sugar cube in Rebbetzin and Kotler's tea. Obe Yitzayir Atzmo Yem HaTzibur, the tzibur is bitzar, I'm also bitzar. Reb Shneur was in Eretz Yisrael by Rabbi Zalman. He was engaged. The war broke out. Reb Aaron came to America. Reb Shneur was in Eretz Yisrael by the Groise Zayder Rabbi Zalman. Finally, things calmed down. It was time to return, to meet the Kal and finally get married. Rabbi Zalman walked down the steps to take Reb Shneur to the taxi. With a heart full of joy, we can only imagine such difficult times. And he's reuniting with his Kali. He's going to get married and build a bayis nemon b'Yisrael, Shemul Teferes. And look what else came from there. All of a sudden, after the second, third step, Rabbi Zalman stops short. And Reb Shneur looks at the Zayda, and Rabbi Zalman motions, go to the taxi. Rabbi Zalman later explained, he said, my heart was overflowed with joy. I felt so happy. I felt such nachas. But I realized that many of Reb Shneur's friends are not going to get married. They will not have the schus to move on this way. Memela, I couldn't express my full joy. I couldn't walk him till the taxi. I had to stop, restrain myself, restrain the natural feeling of happiness. B'zman sheYisrael shruyim b'tzar. And this is the vote of Yitzhak Atzmo im Hatzibur. One last nekuda. In Navardik, it was Simchas Torah, it was Erev Simchas Torah. It was in the times of terrible pogroms, tens of thousands of Yidden were murdered, geschochten, schrecklich. The Bochnim came to the Alt of Navardik and said, Rebbe, are we going to dance Hakofis? Will we dance Hakofis this year? And the Alt of Navardik said, Me wollen tanzen, aber ohne Ashich. We will dance Hakofis without shoes, so that every time we land, we will feel the tsar of Achenu B'nai Yisrael. Definitely, Oilom Kimen Hogoy Noyeg on some level. We're at Chasanas every night, Kein Yirbu, Bar Mitzvahs, Tefillin Leggings, Bristin Shel Avrom Avinu, beautiful convention, Shabbos. Everybody looks so beautiful, put together. Things look regular. But medaf tanzen on Ashich. Yitzhak Atzmo im Hatzibur, and from the little bit that I'm hearing, just being here tonight, it's really what it's about. It's about Yitzhak Atzmo im Hatzibur. This convention is not a regular convention, although no convention is regular. But this is a different convention. It's a convention to get together and feel taka. Achenu b'nei Yisrael, Klal Yisrael, b'chol mekoy mashmash v'seyem. We know that whenever there are milchomos, it's always milchomos ani osisi. It's not about the battlefield. It's not necessarily about the two players in combat. There are always tifere koichos, pnimiustige koichos that are at war. Current events, it's Yisrael and Yishmael. Yisrael could be so many years deep in Golus, or Benetzach Yisrael lo yeshaker, it's Klal Yisrael b'tefarto. And Yishmael ledavoinenu, unfortunately, can also be so many years, so distant from the Shoyresh Hadvorim, from Yishmael. Unafal pikein, Yishmael is Yishmael, and that's the Melchoma. The Melchoma is the Melchoma of Klal Yisrael. It belongs to the Goresh as Ben Oma Azois Kilo Yiresh, Ben Oma Azois and Bniyam Yitzchok. It belongs to the original Yishmael and Yitzchok. Lemaisa, our Soinim Umois Oilom never have a koyach over us unless there's something of Umois Oilom within us. The grip of Yishmael and Yisrael, the grip that they have on us, the ability that they had and have to fight us, to hurt us, to cause such pain, is only because there is Yishmael in Yisrael. There has to be a mokim achize. When we're b'shleimus, Umasoilom can't touch us, k'shezeh kom, zeh neufel, k'sheh neufel, zeh kom. May oivai tchakmenu, we have to look at the oyev. We have to analyze the oyev. We have to understand, we have to comprehend what is Yishmael. What is this klipa, this tumah? What is it about? Where is it coming from? To understand Chakmeinu, to understand how we could have koyach keneged Yishmael. And of course, the klolim remain somewhat the same. Talmud Torah keneged kulam, as we heard tonight, and probably the entire Shabbos. Limud HaTorah, Tefillah, Chizuk, and Shmiras HaMitzvahs, and Asmoda BaTorah. But what specifically is the nekuda of Yishmael? And how could we, Be'ezus Hashem Yisporach, overcome this klipa, this tumah of Yishmael? V'anachnu b'shem Hashem Elokeinu naskir. What is the Shem Hashem Elokeinu naskir that can give us immunity, that can spare us from this milchoma with Yishmael? The Pasuk says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mevaser to Avraham Avinu. And he says to him, you'll be zoiche to a simcha. Sarah will have a child. And we all know the words of Avraham Avinu. He says to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Lu Yishmael yichya lefonecho. Halavai Yishmael should be yichya lefonecho. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Avraham Avinu, Yishmael shmatich, ul Yishmael shmaticho, Hine berachti oisoi, vefreisi oisoi, verbeisi oisoi, moid, moid. Moreover, Rabboisa, you read these psukim in Chodesh Kislev Tovshin Pei Dalet, Sechapta Tziter. What was this about? Lu Yishmoel Yichye Lefonecho, HaKadosh Baruch Hu saying, I'll give you a child. Halavai zol nezayin Lu Yishmoel Yichye Lefonecho. And here is where it happened. Lu Yishmoel Shmaticho, Berachti, Vefreisi. What is this with Yishmoel? Some write that the Lu Yishmoel Yichye Lefonecho refers to the halacha that the Yishmaelim at the end of the day, they're maminim b'Hashem. It's famous to Rambam about a place where they daven or whatever they do or however we'll refer to it. It's not a complete base avodah zorah. Lu Yishmoel Yichye Lefonecho, some write Avram Avinu poiled with his tefillah that they should have at least the amunah b'Hashem. Oh, but the question still screams, but why Yishmoel Yichye? What was so great about Yishmoel? The secret is in a Rashi. Rashi teaches us the shoyrish of Yishmoel. Who's the mother of Yishmoel? Where does Yishmoel come from? He comes from Hogor. So the Heilige Rashi, and how did Hogor come to Beis Shel Avraham Avinu? How did she come to Avraham Avinu? Zogt Rashi HaKodesh, Bas Paroi Hoisa. She was a daughter of Paroi. She saw the miracles that happened to Sora Yimenu. Omar, she said, or he said, the father, Paroi or his wife, Mutiv shtei biti shifcha bebayezeh. I want my daughter Hogor to be even a shifcha in this home. V'loi gvire bebayez acher. Let's think, Rabbi, so what does this translate to? What does this mean? The parents saw the miracles that happened with Sora Yimenu. And what did they see when they saw the miracles? They saw, wow, this is a good place to be. There is a lot to gain by being here, in this home. Mutiv, that our daughter should be a shifcha in this house, rather than being a gvira b'bayis acher. Why? Because she'll make more money. She'll have more hatzlocha. There'll be more miracles. And that's how Hogor landed bebeis shel Avraham Avinu. For what? For profit. For what? For reward. For what? For zich. Hogor brings the Rebbe Yonason in the name of a medrash. Is be'emes Agar with an aleph. Agar is a lotion of schar, like Agre de Kala, Agre de Pilke, de Pirka, Agre de Yoime, schar. The aleph and the hay is mischalef. Why Agar? Why is her name Hogor Miloshon Agar? Because it's all about the schar. Hogor came to Avraham Avinu. She came to Kedusha because it's worth it to be part of Kedusha for what I can gain from the Kedusha, for my self-interest, for personal enrichment, for material gain or any gain. And from this came Yishmoel. Yishmoel, I heard that the Rashiva Rabbi Yitzchok mentioned on Shabbos, the Pirkei Rebbe Lezer, that Yishmoel is the Nutriken Yishmakel. The Medrash refers to it as in HaKadosh Baruch Hu should listen to our tefillas when Yishmoel will do what it's doing to us B'achris Hayomim. But Yishmakel also has another definition. Yishmoel says, I'm in, I believe, I'll worship, I'm religious. The bottom line is Yishmakel. What do I gain? How can I personally gain from this relationship? That's what it's about. Yishmakel. Yishmoel. Our HaKadosh Baruch Hu, our Hashem, serves for Yishmoel as an accessory. His serving, his shaychus to Elokus, Hashem to him is just an accessory. Instead of surrendering to Hashem, the ganze religion to them is a means towards an end, and the end is themselves. It's a transactional service. It says, a Geschäft, man macht Geschäften. Al du kach v'kach, and you'll return. Mishtachavim la'avak sheberagleim. Whatever I want to do, Hashem, you'll come through. Avak sheberagleim, geh aher, ich big sich, here is Hashem. Ich geh ahin, ich big sich, there is Hashem. So where is Hashem? It all depends what they need to gain from it. Yishmael, the tomb of Yishmael, Mushrish in Hogor. In Hogor's coming, al manas lekabel, legarmayu. When it serves his interest, or it can justify their actions, including violence that we witnessed, including the Favetik to Parsha that we're still in the midst of, then they display religion, frumkeit, and they conveniently forget it when it's inconvenient. Re'ei ma ben beni leben chomi. What is the Gewaltigkeit of Yitzchok? Yitzchok is l'shem shamayim. Yitzchok says, I throw it all in. B'chol nafshecho, v'chol mo'idecho. Afil noiteles nafshecho, kol mamoincho, Hashem, whatever you want. Everything that I can gain from being an Eved Hashem, all of that I'm ready to throw in and serve Hashem with it. The oile tmima. Nothing for myself. Completely l'shem, absolutely rein for the Eibishter. Yitzchok is the polar opposite, lahavdil from Yishmael. When Avraham Avinu said, Lu Yishmael yichye lefonecho, Sforim HaKtoshim explain, it's brought down many times, that his bakosha was, we have a concept in the Gemara, Loilam Yasiko, the Metoir of a mitzvahs, Sheloi Lishmo, Shemitoich Sheloi Lishmo, Bo Lishmo. Avraham Avinu was pleading with Hashem, Lu Yishmo Yichye Lefonecho, let that Sheloi Lishmo, let that ultimately lead to a Lishmo. It's transactional, it's for his own personal enrichment and gain. Obelamaisa, we teach our kids also that way. There's a contest, there's rewards, there's beautiful food, and there's limud HaTorah. We also begin that way. Shemitoch Sheloi Lishmo. Avraham Avinu's bakosha was, allow this Yishmael who personifies Sheloi Lishmo. It's all about him, it's all about his gain. But allow it to continue and ultimately result in a Lishmo. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Avraham Avinu, Kol asher toimer elecha soro shma b'koilo. It's not happening. Yishmael will never make it to Lishmo. Yishmael will always be Yishmael. Lishmo is Yitzchok. Lishimcho lezichrecho tavas nofesh is Klal Yisrael b'nei Avraham, Yitzchok v'Yankiv. We are Yisrael, Yoshorim Keil. Yoshorim Keil, no fringes attached. Religion, Yiddishkeit, Frumkeit, Torah, mitzvahs, it starts and begins with Mesirus Nefesh. Hashem, you want this? Oichet, noche, oichet. Just tell me it's a halacha or tell me it's a segula. It's in, ich darf es nicht. And it's true, we want things from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's true, we beg HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But when we're put to test, we're Yidden of Mesirus Nefesh without anything in store for us. We're not Moiser Nefesh because somewhere someone said there's something waiting for us. We're Moiser Nefesh because we need nothing. Because we're Bonim L'Hashem Elokeinu. We love HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We're one and the same with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shebericha v'Yisrael Chat. We don't need to gain anything. There is no pirut from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The koyach of Klal Yisrael neged Yishmael is the koyach of L'Shem Shamayim. As Reb Chaim David so beautifully mentioned, Uvechol zois shimcho lo shachochnu. Hashem, we didn't forget the L'Shem Shamayim. Despite everything, shimcho lo shachochnu, l'shimcho lezichrecho. We have in us a nekuda of L'Shem Shamayim. Where does this nekuda of L'Shem Shamayim play out? How can we go home and dip the thermometer and say, are we in this L'Shem Shamayim? Or do we have a little bit of Yishmael in us? An avak, a little avak, like the avak of the Vayovek Ish Imoy, of Yishmael in us. The Emes, the Mesilas Yeshorim, helps us understand which thermometer reads L'Shem Shamayim or Cholila transactional. It's beautiful, there's so much to gain, it works for me, gives me a sense of purpose, a sense of affiliation, power, hatzloche. So the Heilige Ramchal, אך הכוונה האמיתית המצויה בחסידים, אשר טורחו והשתדלו להשיגו. The real כוונה הוא שיהיה האדם אוהב רק למען אשר כבודו של האדון ברוך הוא יגדל וירבה. The kavana, says the Heilige Ramchal, is that we should have in mind that Kvod Shemayim should be Nisraba. We should have in Zinnen Kvoido shel ha'odon baruch hu yigdal v'yirbe. Sagt der Ramchal, v'zeh yiyah achar she'izgaber ba'ahava elov yizborach. When we work on our love of Hashem, our understanding of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we have a taiva el hagdolas kvoidoi umitztayer, we have pain al kol ma sheyemayit mimenu ki oz yavoid avoidosoi letach lezeh shelepoches mitzidoi. I can't help the world. I can't change the entire world. I can do a little bit, a lot, but I can't fix the entire world. I can't bring the world to l'sakei noilom b'malchus shakai. But at least mitzidoi, says the Heilige Ramchal, yeh kvoido yizborach mizgadeh. Then he brings the famous Tonet Ve'eliyoi, which maybe needs to be more famous. Kol chochom Yisrael, sheyesh boi divrei Torah la'amitoi, u'mizanach hi krechetz. Krechetz al kvoido shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'al kvoidon shel Yisrael kol yomov. He cares about kvoid Shemayim. ומסavo ומייצר לכבוד ירושלים, לכבוד בית המקדוש ולישור שתצמח בקורב ולכינוס גלויוס. Says the Tonet Ve'eliyoi, it's a segula from Motzei Shabbos. Chochom Yisrael that has divrei Torah la'amitoi has to be misanach on kvod Shemayim, has to krechetz on kvod Shemayim, on kvod Yisrael, the koved of Klal Yisrael. She'ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu, says the Ramchal later, chofetz ba'ovdan u'reshoyim. If you're worried about Hashem, if you're thinking about Hashem, Hashem doesn't want ovdan u'reshoyim. Ki ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu oyev elemi she'oyev es Yisrael. It's scary to think how Klal Yisrael rebuilt itself with the koyach of Gdolei Yisrael, with the guidance of Gdolei Yisrael, the Gdolim in every generation, including ours. Klal Yisrael rebuilt, me ashpois yorim evyo in lo yeshivi im nedivei amoy. Just look around in the room. I imagine every person sitting here has children Talmidei Chachomim, son-in-laws Talmidei Chachomim, himself a Talmid Chacham. It's noire the darga of Torah bekamus ube'eches. The thousands of programs in Torah, the Mdaf, the Omud, all different types of learning, different programs, different ways to learn, different sforim. It's noire what happened these years since the last Churban. Torah b'tefarto mamish and avoide bote medroshim bote knesiyas. But there's another nekuda. The nekuda is a macro nekuda, not so micro. Every shul for sich, every yeshiva for sich, to be matzliach with the talmidim, to be matzliach to cover the budget. But then there is a global aspect in Yiddishkeit. The Heilige Bashefer, Ovinu Avarachman, they used to sing by weddings in the times that they still sang Yomim Al Yemai Melech, if people recall. Segven Azat Kufa. They used to sing a nigun, Lasois Nachas Ruach. Lasois Nachas Ruach, La Boireis Borach Shemoy. I'm an Ashkenaz like many in the room. We don't say L'Shem Yichud. But it doesn't mean it's not L'Shem Yichud. To bring HaKadosh Baruch Hu back to his world, his own world, Daladam Shel Aloche. The world of Torah, of Yerushalayim, but bring the Shemayim into the world of Yerushalayim. Bring the L'Shem Shemayim back. Trachten von dem Eibishten, trachten von HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Tzar, as the Ramchal says. Think about it how Hashem would think about it. Think about the pain that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is suffering. We're talking about Artzeinu HaKdosha. When you go to Eretz Yisrael, Moira V'Raboisa, you go to the yeshivas. Go to Mir Yeshiva, the Ponav Yeshiva, to Chevron, to Slab. You go to the Rizige Yeshivas, then you go to the Merkozim of the Admoirim. Rizige Merkozim of Admoirim. You go to Ger, you go to Belz, you go... It's riesig. Moira v'rabois, it doesn't equal to 30%. It doesn't equal to 30% of this land. The rest is neure. Rav Shach's last meeting, Zechatzadik Levroch, he met. And he said, ich hab nicht kein Koyach, lotzes v'lovay anymore. But when as me erst trefes in Tel Aviv, es Michal Shabbos in Ashkelon, wenig. Das kann ich noch, ich kann weinen. G'doilem are those who see the bigger picture. G'doilem are those that are not only occupied in the micro-Yiddishkeit, in the management of the local Yiddishkeit. They look at HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the beschaffen der Welt, with a tachlis, and we say it in Alkei Nekavelecho so beautifully, Lirois Meheiro B'Seferes Uzecho. And in Tachten recently we've been saying with more kavon ad Mosai Uscho B'Ashvi V'Sefartecho B'Yatzor. Hashem, how long will this continue? It's schreckliche bizoyen. Anti-Semitism, Moira v'Raboisa, is not only a personal problem to us, and we sit here in fear watching the video and hearing that anti-Semitism, it's a bizoyen of Kvod Shemayim. Am zu yotzarti, l'cho, tilosi yisaperi. Hashem, you created us, we should be zoichet to say your tehillah. Yakiru v'yedu kol yoish v'yisevel, ki l'chotichra kol berech tishova kol loshoy. Lefonecho yichru v'yipoili, l'chvod shimcho yikor yiteinu, v'kablu chulom. When did this tragedy happen, Tyre Yidden? It was mentioned that happened Shmini Atzeres Simchas Torah. There's a lot of mitzvahs, chefze shel mitzvahs, sukkahs, arba minim. There's a lot. And not cholil in a lotion of zilzul. There's paraphernalia. There's a lot of Sachen in Yiddishkeit. Shmini Atzeres sagt der Eibishter ani va'ato. Leave it all behind. It's you and me. And what does you and me mean? Ani v'hoi. Ich medir. It means Hashem is saying to us, when everything quiets down, even the Sifrei Torah closed, Simchas Torah. Hashem says, just, lo me sein zusammen. Think about me, und ich will trachten von euch. It's a different day, Shmini Atzeres. It's a day where HaKadosh Baruch Hu is screaming to us, as gebravet Ashene Yom Tov, the most beautiful Yom Tovim that history ever had, or the Yom Tovim that we have today. The Arba Minim that we shake, Avois Avoiseinu didn't have these Arba Minim. They did not have it. Echot Beir Shnayim B'Mishpoche. Every Yid has such a Mehuderdig Arba Minim. Our Taleisim are more beautiful than the Taleisim that Kleisel ever had. Our Tfilins are more Mehuder. Our Machzoirim and Sidurim are leather bound with the most magnificent print. Und alles is shame. Shmini Atzeres sagt der Eibishter, vergess alles. Ani va'ato, ani v'hu. Just connect to me, realize. Motzei Sukkos, we close the Machzer every year. And we open the Sidurim. The emes is there's something in the Machzer that we don't have in the Siddur. In the Machzer, Moira v'Raboisai, we look for all kinds of loopholes. We look for different areas for transactional Geschäften mit der Eibishter. Baruch Hashem, Ovinu Malkeinu, Kozveinu, B'Sefer Parnosa v'Chalkola. Chazal put it into the Machzer. Here and there is a bakoshe. But the Ikke von the Machzer is one thing. V'sim lechato Hashem levatcho. Yevoi rechoikim v'yitim lecho keser melucho. Uv'chein tzadikim finally yiru v'yismochu. V'yishorim ya'aloizu. V'chsidim berinu yogilu. V'avoi loso tikpots pio. V'cholorisho kulo ko'oshon tichle. Kisavim shele zodon yes, mino oretz. Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur Sukkot, we speak a different sprach. We say HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we care about you. We care about the huge corporation, Kaviyochel. It's not only about us and our Yiddishkeit. I'm doing my learning, I'm doing my davening, my children, Baruch Hashem, are frum, they're not off the derech. The moistest that I send my children to are taken care of, at least I do my part. Und sie gut. Nein, sie nicht gut. Sie nicht gut. V'sim lo ichatu Hashem levatcho. Yevoyu rechoikim v'yitnu lecho. V'yosu kulom Agudath lasis retzoincho b'leiv of sholem. This Motzei Sukkos, Hashem came down to us Yidden and said, please don't close the Machzer. Keep the Machzer open. I don't want you to close the Machzer. Mod gepoilt parnosei chalkola gute kinder sheduchim. Mod gebeten Klal Yisrael is betefarto. It's beautiful Am Yisrael. The tfilis, the ehrlichkeit. All the chumris, was amolis gewinn a ganze avoide, nicht reden beim Davenen, schmires haloshen. It's unbelievable, the growth, the madreges of Klal Yisrael. Hashem is nachas from us. But Hashem sagt, vergess mich nicht. Don't forget me. Keep the Machzer from Rosh Hashanah open. It's not just a little thing, a geschäft. There's a bigger picture. If we're talking Shem Shamayim, I want to read you just a little few lines. A few lines that I saw in a sefer that Gdolim used to be Matzia for Yidden to learn parts of this sefer. There was a Reb Pinchas Eliyahu in Vilna. He lived in the times of the Goyen. And he writes like this: V'dorashti v'chokarti heitiv Rabboisai. I was doirish and choiker b'chol levovi with my entire heart. Loda sibas ariches hagoles hachel hazeh. Wouldn't that be beautiful to understand? What is the siba for this long golus? Ad Mosai, ve'eire, and I saw, v'nei bedoiros ha'eila, and imagine what he would have said tonight at this beautiful convention. Yesh toira harba b'Yisrael. Wer lernt nicht Teure hein? There's so much Teure. Marbe ma'om lilmoid, Mishnayis, Gemore, Poiskim, v'gam Sifrei Kabbalah. U'bechol zo is loy bolet zion goyel. And he says a lot of people in his generation were mischazik in Tefillah. B'chol koyach voice, we could say the same today. Yidden daven Tefillah b'tzibu with Mesiras Nefesh. Bichlal medaven, v'gam ele tzoakim v'einem nenem. I will not be marich. He continues with all the good, and to make the question greater and deeper. So why? V'amarti ani belibi. Ein zois kim sheyesh eize mafse de oimet kenegdem. There has to be something stopping it. V'yovigam asoton betoichom lahachlish koyach toira avoiden gemilis chasodim. Motzosi, that all the above kitois, he calls them, toira avoiden gemilis chasodim, eino mechavnim b'ma she'oisim kiyim lezoirech atzmom uletoyaltom. Loy le mifrik kutshaberichu ushchinte min hagolus. V'chol toira oy tfilo oy mitzvah. Asher oise, when he does toira and tfilo mechaven liklois lemokum choshuv. In this world, or Gan Eden or Olam Haba, v'shiyatzliach al yidei zeh b'chol mishlach yodeh b'olam hazeh. It's a good resume. It's better sheduchim. Bichlal it works. There's a derech ha-toira, there's a derech of the rechel da'achinoya, meshivas nofesh, machkimas pesi, mesam chayleif. It has so much benefits. V'sheyarech yomim v'shonim im ishtoi, uv'chein ochi v'ami, ki kol zman yiseh shlo yinachavim b'toiru, tfilu, u'mitzvahs, lemifrikut sheberichu eschintei, lo yovo meshicheinu. It's a neurotic statement. We're up against Yishmael. Yishmael has a relationship with our Hashem. He has a shaychus. The Zohar HaKodesh discusses his achiz in Eretz Yisrael. But his achiza and everything about him is completely shaloi l'shmo. And that's why Yishmael is what Yishmael is, Rachmana litzlon. And Klal Yisrael's netzochen against Yishmael, whether or not we say the L'Shem Yichud, is to keep HaKodesh Baruch Hu in mind, to keep Klal Yisrael in mind, to bring HaKodesh Baruch Hu's macro involvement, the involvement of HaKodesh Baruch Hu of Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, that feeling, to keep it all year round. We suffered so much. We suffered so much. When we were hit with COVID, we were sure it's the end of time. Moreover, Rabbi say, I'm not sure if I'm speaking for everyone, but I think I am. When we opened the door, Pesach B'Nar, B'Shvoi Chamos, Chel HaGoyim, Asher Lo Yido'ucho, we were sure, we were convinced it's the end. As Mashiach is coming, is Soiva Keitz L'Chol Tzoroseinu, wie viel will Yidden leiden? And there was tremendous disappointment, which is not in place. It's nicht unser Geschäft. We do ours, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tut seins. Then came the mice of the Kedoshim in Miron. 45 tzaddikim, neshomas that were makabel malchus shemayim. That Zicha had a Rurei Tshuva, they had time to have a Rurei Tshuva. Gegangen. And we thought that's the end. I hung up in the yeshiva a huge poster with the pictures. On the one hand, we were so lost, such a toyuv. On the other hand, it was such a isoirus, such a koch. And every tzaddik, every godel said his message to his Eidah. And it's all emes, all divrei Elokim chayim. And now what? And now what? And this is besides for the regular problems. I was here Wednesday for the mental health track, Rachmana litzlan, hundreds and hundreds of frume clinicians, mental health practitioners, each one has at least 100, 200, 500 cases. Von wem? Von Achenu B'nai Yisrael, Rabbi Isai. Yid not so flicked, benefesh, beguf, the hospitals, the organizations of refuah, the Veitag of Chinuch, go tonight, Motzei Shabbos, drive from here to different spots in Lakewood, in Brooklyn. This is this. And then there's the global problems. This Veitag for one little generation. Nanasim, little midgets, Fa Mashiach, Ikvese de Mashiach. I sicher don't know anything. And my das is sicher not das teure. But I once heard a moshel. A father, a gvir, was making a chasana for his third child, his third son. And the father sent a telegram to his oldest son who lived distant, far away, and he said, come to the chasna, and everything you're going to spend is on me. You can buy new custom clothing, a new carriage, beautiful horses. Everything you'll spend is on me. Anything you do in my honor, I'll pay for. The son gets the telegram. He wasn't a poor person himself, aber shat nicht a little of a freebie, you know. The father says, it's on me. And he went and he spent a lot of money. He bought beautiful clothing, new carriages, new horses, spent a fortune. But then he remembered, a few days into it, he has a brother. There's another brother. This brother was mediocre. Gata Pordola. It was a little bit late for the brother to pull things off. But he was ganz gut, ganz hergestellt. The day of, he's about to leave, he chaps. He said, "Ich hab noch a Bruder. I have another brother. He's mamish oni vevyon. He has nothing. Zuflikt, mamish, zerissene Kleider, homeless." It's the day of, he's about to leave. He calls the brother and says, come. Tata macht chasana, you have to come. They're in the carriage, they arrive. The wedding was magnificent, it was joyous. A week passes, another week passes, and the Gvirish son, the oldest one, he's waiting. He needs to get paid, he needs to get reimbursed. He spent so much money. And there's nothing coming, there's no conversation, no communication about finances. He waited enough time. He went over to the father and says, Tata, I don't know how to say this without sounding rude. I'm Makir Toiv. I appreciate everything with Lamaisa. You promised me everything I'm going to spend for the wedding is on you. I spent so much. Can you pay me? Can you reimburse me? The father grabbed him by the collar and said, what did I say? He said, you said you're going to pay for the expenses. He said, no, I never said that. I said, everything you're going to do in my honor, I will pay for. Everything you will do in my honor, I will pay for. And if my honor was your agenda, if my honor was on your radar, you would have brought both brothers looking beautiful, magnificent. If you came looking so beautiful and your two brothers look so horrible, that's not in my honor. I'm not paying you a thing. Go home, l'chaim tovim l'sholem. During COVID, everything got shut down. Depends which area of Klal Yisrael we live in. In Brooklyn, it was for a very short time. Other areas longer. But the bottom midrashim, the yeshivas, bottom got shut down. And all of a sudden we met brothers on our blocks. We getroffen Yidden. And we made minyan with them, and we praved with them. It was a little bit more macro. It wasn't such a micro Yiddishkeit. It wasn't my shul, my best knesses, my yeshiva, my rosh yeshiva, my budget. It was more whoever's on the block. Whoever is across the porch. Came the Miron tragedy. HaKadosh Baruch Hu pulled our eyes. He pulled our neshamas. And he said, look at these pictures. We were able to hang the pictures in the yeshivas. Yereim, Shleimim, Charedim, Ledvar Hashem. We hung those pictures in the yeshivas. Every bocha took Nebuch HaNifter and learned Lilu Nishmosoi and wrote to the family. We were able to connect. It was the middle brother. We connected. Is he Sfaradi? Is he Ashkenaz? Is he learning all day? Is he work a little bit? Is he a chosid? Is he zera chosid? Moira Veraboisa HaKadosh Baruch Hu wasn't zufrieden yet. He now has pictures that we can't hang in a Beis Medrash. He now has pictures we can't hang in a yeshiva. We can't. We cannot. Aber HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying, "Zene fort meine Kinder." And if you were serious when you said, Gali kvoid malchus choleinu, meheiro v'hoifa v'inosei, leine kol chai. If you were serious in the v'korev pizureinu ben agoyim, if you think about me, Zok HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I have family, I hab noch kinder. What you could do about it? Maybe nothing, maybe just cry. Maybe cry. I wrote down because it was hard to remember. Moira v'Raboi say names, Raz, Aviv, Hila, Alma, Emma, Yuli, Amelia, Abigail, Schoen, Gali, Amit, Yoval, Ofri, Mia, Noga, Tal, Gal. We can't just hang in Beis Medrash. Not the pictures. We're not even used to pronouncing these Yiddish names or these names. And wait till you hear the Bas or the Ben Hu. It's in generations azoi. Sogt der Eibishter, if Shimcha lo shechochnu, if I'm part of your Yiddishkeit, if I'm part of, is guck breiter, tracht breiter, vayigdal Moshe, vayigdal, gadlus, vayetze elecho, vayarbes evloiso. There's a riesige machloikis. If you have time, it would be a beautiful sugya to learn. Are the Yidden in Eretz Yisrael tinnik shenish or not? It's a machloikis. It's a ganze koch, the Heilige Chazon Ish, Rebbe Yashiv, Rebbe Moshe from Ir, wrote, are they, Moira V'Raboi say, whether they're lahalocha tinnik shenishbo or not, but this is not the first hostages. They're hostage for years and years. They're hostage in Chil Shabbos and Avelis and Treifis. How are they commemorating? How are they going to perpetuate this massacre? They're making tattoos, Nebuch. Rabbi say they're making tattoos, Ksoivis Kaka, Yisud Doiraisa, of this festival to remember it. Yiddish Kinder. This is not the first hostages. Klal Yisrael's hostage for a very long time. And we as Yidden were shining. We are shining, Rabbi say. This is not Musar. It's not even constructive criticism. We are shining. Yidden have stopped eating sugar cubes. Yidden have cut out different parts of their diet to feel the pain of Am Yisrael. I met a alte Baba. She tells me, I'm a elte Babi. I will not have any ice cream. Gebenjel designed that she still have ice cream in her. I will not have any ice cream till this doesn't come to a good ending. Klal Yisrael is giving up time to say Tilim, to learn better, to learn Ba'asmode, to make a chizuk, to be mitztayer. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will help us to bring HaKadosh Baruch Hu back into our lives. To leave the convention with all the beautiful Divrei Torah you heard, and a pity I wasn't zoichet to hear some of it. All the chizuk, all the guidance that Gdolei Yisrael gave us, and continue to give us. One more nekuda for dessert. L'shem yichud. Like I said, whether we say it or not, it's not the nekuda. Aber betrachten von der Borei Kol Olamim. Be'emes, this is in Sharach Sidus in Ramchal Se'emes. But if the Rosh Yeshiva are not angry for me saying this, Klal Yisrael is l'maisa on a sehr starke level. Limud HaTorah is moiridik. Palabatim are learning like riesige Lomdim. Bnei Yeshivas are giving out Sforim, finishing Torah. The darga of Torah is not far from the Sharach Sidus and Ramchal. We're doing good. Tefillah, Torah, mitzvahs, hidur mitzvahs, chumres, the poiskim, the botedinim, we have to be answering shilas. Oh, but here also we need to steig. Like the Ramchal tells us, tracht von a zweiten, ob the tracht von Borei Kol Olamim. So the Eibishter helfen, we should be zoicha, to feel that we're the Am HaNivcher, not to allow all the negativity and all the anti-Semitism that was spoken about, not to allow it to create a fear in us or a feeling that maybe we're talking not so. We are the Am HaNivcher, Moira V'Raboi say, and we're the only thing Hashem has. It's scary to say this, aber wer hat der Eibishter in seiner Welt at this point? If not the frume Yidden, the ehrliche Yidden that are trying their best to keep Torah and mitzvahs lechatchila, lechumra, and care about their brothers that are not there yet. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has us in His world. We're on His radar. We're on His radar. We are the tachlis. After everything, it's us. It's Netzach Yisrael Lo Yishaker. And we have to daven and feel the tsar of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the tsar of the Shechina and all these Yidden. Yidden who mamish don't know me. You saw one bocher tonight. I think his name was Akiva, was it? We saw one bocher here. Ask him how many friends he has. Ask him how many people he has on his social media page. That don't begin to know how to say Shema Yisrael. If they'll put tefillin on, they'll wear Shabbos because it's the easiest day to wear the tefillin because they're not so busy. Ze weisen mamish gar nicht. And then here also, we have our work here. So they bist helfen. We should be zoiche that this beautiful convention should be a pchina of taroich lefonai shulchan neget zoireroi. The shulchanos of Shabbos, graced by the Gdoilei HaTorah, the Einei Ha'eda. It should bagleit Klal Yisrael, and it should be the last Knessia in Golus. We should be zoicha os to do volatzio in Goyel b'mheiro v'yomeinu omein.
On behalf of the chairman and all the staff who coordinated this incredible event, I want to thank everyone for joining us here in person. I also want to thank Torah Anytime for helping to facilitate the online live stream, which had over 100,000 people tuning in this evening. To those that joined us for Shabbos, as you exit this ballroom, please carefully follow the signs for the respective Mlava Malkas. The women's Mlava Malka will take place in the terrace, and the men's Mlava Malka in Crown. Please refer to the program schedule for tomorrow morning's davening and session times. Wishing everyone a good vach.